Chapter 1 New York, USA. New York, USA. Soft morning light shines through a window onto a sleeping Asian man, and the light seeps in through his slightly closed eyelids. Liu Hao is awakened by the light and slowly opens his eyes. Just as he was about to get up, he felt his right arm was slightly sore. Turning his head, he couldn't help but smile. On the right, there was a graceful beauty lying. Long hair like flaming flames, facial features like fine carvings, and skin as white as jade. These beautiful elements integrate, making this beauty easily rank among the most beautiful in people's aesthetics. She is his wife, Wanda. Yes, it is the Marvel superhero, the heroic Scarlet Witch, who is well known to everyone. Today is their first wedding anniversary. Wanda breathes evenly in her sleep, and her graceful figure exudes a faint and elegant fragrance, which is extremely tempting. Even after countless nights, every time this fragrance reaches Liu Hao, he still feels numb all over, like an electric shock. He gently stroked the beauty's hair, bent down to kiss her forehead, and whispered, "Good morning, my beauty. It's time to get up. The sun is shining on your butt." Feeling Liu Hao's kiss, Wanda didn't mean to get up. This charming red-haired beauty was like a lazy kitten, twisting her graceful body playfully, adding a bit of cuteness. Liu Hao got up to wash with a gentle smile. After traveling here for 3 years, Liu Hao has become accustomed to the life in this world, and even almost forgot that Wanda is a fictional character in the movie. At least, their time every night is real, and Wanda's various are simply too good to describe, and always play new ideas. At present, Liu Hao has not received any news about other superheroes in the Marvel Universe. He closely follows the news about Stark Industries and Hammer Corporation. According to today's news, it will take at least 3 years for Tony Stark to become Iron Man before the timeline of Iron Man 1. At the moment, Dr. Hulk Banner has not been affected by gamma rays yet. He may be busy marrying the General's girlfriend and his scientific research career, and occasionally appear in the news for his scientific research results. He would never have thought that 3 years later he would become a monster with a girlfriend, both of whom would become a luxury. Doctor Strange's hand is still intact, and he is still a doctor. Spider-Man has not been bitten by an alien spider yet, and he is probably worried about the high school entrance examination. Captain America and Winter Soldier, 2 close friends, are still sleeping on the seabed. Winter Soldier is occasionally released to perform missions, but will eventually be sent back. Thor, the strongest fighter of the Avengers, is still free in Asgard at this moment, and his father has not given him a hammer yet. Captain Marvel, the cosmic wanderer, will not return to Earth casually. Black Widow and Hawkeye are performing tasks as SHIELD agents. At the moment, except for S.H.I.E.L.D. director Nick Fury, the Black Egg is missing. The stories of other superheroes have not yet unfolded, not to mention meeting Liu Hao. The only superhero related to me is my wife Wanda. As for Wanda's original wife Vision, JRVIS has not been born yet, so he is naturally not born yet. Since you are not born yet, I am not stealing your wife. Liu Hao sighed at the TV. A pleasant voice came from the door. If you can make money by getting up early, you are a billionaire now, little bastard. Wanda, wearing red lace pajamas, leaned against the door frame, sleepy. In the morning light, her graceful figure was as crystal clear as a jade carving. Have you had breakfast? Or, on special days, do you need me to cook for you? Wanda asked with a sweet smile. No thanks. Liu Hao trotted over. Compared to breakfast, I want to taste your deliciousness more. They call you the son of New York? I think it's more appropriate to call you the energetic little tiger. They call them what they call you, and you call yours. After all, only you can see this side. After lingering with Wanda, Liu Hao changed into formal clothes. The well-fitting suit outlines his solid muscle lines. As soon as he stood up, he exuded a strong aura, like a god, giving people a strong sense of epic. This is Liu Hao's image at work, and it is also how he is seen by the world, the god of New York, the symbol of justice and judgment. Liu Hao smiled at himself in the mirror, and then went out to the New York Police Department. As soon as he entered the police station, an old detective saw Liu Hao and bowed excitedly. Respected Officer Liu, good morning. Have a nice day. Good morning, John, old friend. You don't have to be so polite. Liu Hao smiled and stepped forward and gently patted John on the back. However, this simple action was flattering to the old detective John. No, you deserve this treatment. If you don't want to accept it, we really don't know how to repay you. Except for respect, we have nothing to repay, respected Officer Liu. John said sincerely. Liu Hao smiled and responded. It's just a little help, nothing, and it's what I should do. After all, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility, right? The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. What a lofty realm and philosophy. Officer Liu, we know. We will work harder. Oh my God, is it really him? The legendary light of New York, Liu Hao. The legendary detective who reduced the crime rate in New York by half in 1 year with his nearly perfect case-solving ability? A black colleague whispered in admiration. Newcomers don't need to be too nervous. When you gradually get familiar with Officer Liu, you will find that his extraordinary qualities are far more than that. He brings us new surprises every day. Sooner or later, we will run out of words to praise him. A white colleague patted him on the shoulder. Sometimes, just looking at him makes me feel safe. He is like a shining star. He deserves to be called the star of New York. Yes, look at that handsome face and the strong body that can be vaguely seen under the suit. It is really charming. A female police officer couldn't help but admire. Officer Liu Hao's father is Chinese, right? If I remember correctly. No wonder his eyes reveal an oriental charm that Americans don't have. The charm of Chinese men is so amazing. Do you want to experience Officer Liu's Chinese martial arts? The kind in bed? Liu Hao has excellent hearing. These quiet praises are as if they were heard in person. He experiences such praises day after day. Liu Hao walked into the office. Jack, the chief of the police station, who was scolding the newcomer, smiled immediately when he saw Liu Hao. Oh, look who is here. My dear partner Liu Hao, our great hero, the light of New York. The police officer didn't understand why the chief's expression could change as quickly as the Sichuan opera's face changing in the east. However, when he heard the word Liu Hao, he immediately understood. Who in the entire police station? No, in the entire New York, doesn't know the existence of this Superman-like person. After all, the title of New York Star is not something that anyone can afford. Chapter 2 Interrogation Room. After the chief showed his courtesy to Liu Hao, he turned to the police officer. If you don't remember what I said just now, I can guarantee that I will kick your ugly ass with my size 42 shoes. Now get out. Yes, chief. After the police officer left, Liu Hao sat down. The chief stood up consciously. As soon as Liu Hao sat down, he stood up automatically. Liu Hao didn't say anything, and the chief stood up naturally, like a rule, and also like a habit that went deep into the bone marrow, a silent respect. Liu Hao was straightforward, with his hands supporting his chin, and seriously questioned Chief Jack. Jack, tell me, why was the prisoner I caught yesterday released? Jack's eyes were unpredictable. He was startled at first, then tried to escape, and finally squeezed out a helpless look. All of this could not escape Liu Hao's sharp eyes. I know you will be dissatisfied with this, but I can't do anything, because this is not my decision. Who is it? Liu Hao asked in a low voice. This is an order from the top. I can only obey. An order from the top? What kind of bullshit order? I don't care what stupid order they gave. That woman killed someone in front of me and was caught by me. I will never allow anyone to let her go without permission. Did you hear that? Anyone? Otherwise, I will settle accounts with you. No matter where you escape, I will find you. Believe me, I will. Liu Hao's tough attitude made Chief Jack, who was just scolding the police, speechless. Okay, I understand you and promise you that I will handle this matter and do everything according to your instructions. Jack sighed and replied. Very good, this is my old partner. Liu Hao got up and left his office. However, Liu Hao had just left the door. Chief Jack, who was originally timid, suddenly changed his face. He took out his mobile phone from his pocket and dialed a number. He intervened. Yes, so we can't do it now. Lock up X23 first. Liu Hao returned to his office and just sat down when a translucent prompt box popped up in his mind. Today's lottery opportunity has not been used. Do you want to start the lottery? Super lottery system. This is the artifact Liu Hao got after crossing. He can draw a lottery every day, and the prizes include various abilities and items. Liu Hao can thrive in this world, all thanks to the Superman gene he won a year ago. Yes, it is the strongest superhero in the DC universe who can fly at high speed, pull trains, withstand bullets, and even survive in the sun. Superman's potential is unfathomable, like a gold mine that never stops. As long as you keep digging, you will always have gains, and the value is incomparable. And Liu Hao's Superman ability seems to be even stronger than the comics in the Silver Age, but because it has only been a year, he has not yet fully exerted it. As long as you gradually gain the power of Superman, no one in the Marvel Universe can beat you. But winning this physique seemed to have exhausted his good luck for the year, and he always got some insignificant or even weird things in the subsequent draws. For example, the pants worn by the Hulk, the wine bottle used by Thor, etc. Today, Liu Hao drew the lottery as usual, and as expected, it was Black Widow's bathwater. What is the use of this thing? Can it be drunk? Liu Hao has long been accustomed to this. The important thing is to learn how to make full use of Superman's power. After the lottery, Liu Hao looked at the documents on the table, on which was a brown-haired woman, Laura Kinney, 21 years old, adult. Liu Hao narrowed his eyes, repeated the name, and finally raised his mouth. If it were someone else, I'm afraid it would be easy to ignore you, right? This name seems normal at first glance, just like an ordinary female name. After all, there are many people with the same name in the United States, and the protagonist of Tomb Raider is also called Laura. But for people in this Marvel world, it's another story. Liu Hao, who has seen all the Marvel and X-Men movies, definitely knows how tricky this fierce-eyed woman named Laura is. The deadly weapon codenamed X, 23 never expected that we would meet like this. Wolverine Logan's daughter, Wolf Girl Layla Kinney. Liu Hao knows that this woman copied according to Logan's genes has a killing instinct that is no less than her father. What's more, she has grown up and matured. If she is allowed to wander the world without restraint, she will definitely set off a bloody storm. From the photo alone, she reveals a fierce aura, and anyone can detect that Director Jack actually wants to release her. There must be something hidden. Liu Hao glanced in the direction of the director's office. It seems that this Sheriff Jack is not an upright person, and his goal is very clear. However, Director Jack is not Liu Hao's focus. Liu Hao's eyes fell on the information about Layla in his hand. After thinking for a while, he stood up and walked towards the interrogation room. It seems that I have to talk to you. Bang! The door was pushed open and closed by Liu Hao, and he walked into the interrogation room where the wolf girl Layla was imprisoned. Layla did not react. She was motionless, staring at the table with empty eyes, not knowing what she was looking at. Liu Hao has long been accustomed to this. In the movie, Wolverine 3, the little wolf girl Layla treats strangers so indifferently. If she shows a cheerful personality when they first meet, it will surprise Liu Hao. Are you hungry? I brought you food. Liu Hao put the hamburger in his hand on Layla's table, and the little wolf girl was still indifferent like a blind person. Her eyes were sharp, and she was silent at the moment, as if those brown eyes would shoot out two sharp knives at any time, and just sitting there was enough to be frightening. But this look was not born with her, but was honed by the day after tomorrow. It was not something that could be trained by sitting at home, but was forged while on the run. Hey, you should understand English, right? Layla was still indifferent, as if she was deaf. If her eyes were not still open, Liu Hao would have thought she was asleep. What a headache, child. Liu Hao pretended to be helpless. I can't help you like this. Those guys will come to your door sooner or later. Finally, Liu Hao's keen insight caught the subtle changes in Layla's expression, and she wavered. Yes, she was in urgent need of help, and Liu Hao knew this very well, which was one of the reasons why he came to talk to her. Are you in trouble? After all, your extraordinary ability does not belong to the realm of ordinary people. No matter what is missing in life, there will always be enemies. Liu Hao began to persuade Layla. Besides, your current situation is very bad. Let's not talk about the original enemies for now. What will happen if the secret is accidentally leaked? Countless people will always want to catch you for dissection. Believe me, they will be more enthusiastic than cooking food. After all, there are secrets hidden in your knuckles and toes, and you have a super strong self-healing ability. Chapter 3: The Secret of the Little Wolf Girl. Including my sheriff, he is not a kind person. Are you willing to be someone else's experimental subject? Or, choose to tell me everything and let me help you. Liu Hao successfully attracted the attention of the wolf girl. Layla looked up and looked directly into Liu Hao's eyes, as if he wanted him to personally confirm and guarantee the authenticity of his words. Yes, you heard it right. I have the ability to help you, provided that you trust me. Layla glanced at the bug again, meaning the content of their current conversation may be monitored by someone, which is no different from sending it for research. Don't worry, I have turned off the bug. No one can hear our conversation. Believe me, I can do it. The little wolf girl remained silent and expressed doubt. Liu Hao shrugged. Otherwise, you can also pay attention to it. The red dot on the bug has disappeared. With your identity, you must have been on the run frequently, so you should know better than me what the bug in the police station looks like. This time, Liu Hao finally convinced the little wolf girl Layla. She changed to a comfortable position and sat up and looked up at Liu Hao. How can I believe that you will really help me? Liu Hao waved his hand. If you believe me, you may be arrested. If you don't believe me, you will be arrested 100%. Do you think you have any other choice? Besides, if I really want to harm you, you will not have the chance to sit here and talk to me face to face. But I won't do that. Do you know why? Because I am the dawn of New York. Liu Hao smiled, the sun was shining, and the word justice seemed to exist for him. No upright person would refuse such a Liu Hao. I have heard of your reputation, and I have seen your ability. The little wolf girl finally let down her guard. Maybe you can really help me. Liu Hao leaned close to her ear and listened to the little wolf girl's secret. Regarding these, Layla hid them very deeply, because it was related to her and Mutant's fate. Liu Hao listened quietly without disturbing her. An hour later, Liu Hao ended his conversation with the little wolf girl Layla. In his office, he quietly thought about what Layla said in the scene of their first acquaintance, and began to dig out more secrets hidden behind it. It turned out that the little wolf girl Layla was hunted by the military before. It's called hunting, but in fact, they want to capture her alive and then study her in an extremely cruel way. The reason for the hunting is simple, because Layla is a mutant. In the X-Men series of movies, such situations are common, implying this meaning. Humans are afraid of creatures stronger than themselves, so they will start wars. Their rhetoric and purpose are all excuses. It's just that it has become more serious now. Liu Hao thought to himself. But hypocritical humans, while expelling super ability people, also tried their best to gain power from super ability people. which is both timid and greedy. Once, the X-Men guarded the harmony between mutants and humans, but in the current timeline, they have long disappeared. Those X-Men either died or went into exile. Even the legendary immortal Wolverine fell at the hands of the army when Laura was a child, and Phoenix disappeared with chaotic divine power, pouring out anger on humans. As Wolverine's successor, Wolfgirl, along with other artificial mutants, became the target of the army's pursuit. She spent a full 10 years on the run. The extinction of these young mutants means the complete annihilation of the mutant race, provided that they can die before being used for research. Some died in the research, and Laura, as the last survivor, killed enemies for many years with her wolf-like agility and vigilance. Although most of them were enemies, some innocent people died because of her. For her, the boundary between good and evil is no longer clear. This is what she told Liu Hao in person. Such a calm statement made Liu Hao believe that this was the fact. In this way, Laura continued to avoid the pursuit of the army until 2 days ago. That time, the scale of the army was beyond imagination, and she could hardly escape. Facing the fate of being used as an experimental subject, Laura chose to fight to the death, but she was outnumbered. At this moment, Liu Hao, who has a godlike super ability, appeared. He recognized the adamantium claws of the little wolf girl and knew her identity. Facing her being hunted, he stepped forward without hesitation. After all, in the world of Marvel and X-Men, apart from Wolverine Logan's freakish self-healing ability, only his daughter Laura can control adamantium. Even if this is left aside, the madness of the army chasing the little wolf girl is enough for Liu Hao to punish them severely. When the army becomes a demon, it loses its value of existence. He did it, and destroying the army chasing Laura was as easy as crushing ants. Laura witnessed Liu Hao's arrival with her own eyes. In his eyes, every move of Liu Hao is like an angel and a god. This is the second man who brings her a sense of security after her father Wolverine Logan. No wonder she didn't resist when I arrested her. I thought she would argue with me for a long time. It turns out that she has had a good impression of me since then, and the confrontation in the interrogation room is just her disguise. Liu Hao nodded thoughtfully. 3 or 4 days have passed since that incident. Liu Hao knows that the army that knew Laura was in New York, but did not dare to come to rob people in a big way, is nothing more than fear. Any rational person would make such a choice in the face of today's New York, because this is Liu Hao's territory. 3 years ago, Liu Hao won the recognition of all New York, including the leadership. The people of New York are grateful to Liu Hao and set a rule that unless war is unavoidable, New York belongs only to Liu Hao. This is a tacit agreement. In other words, New York is now Liu Hao's kingdom. He is the light here and the king here. Therefore, no matter who comes to New York and does not cause Liu Hao's disgust, he will not be expelled, which is equivalent to obtaining immunity. No force dares to act recklessly here, even criminals are no exception. This is the consensus of everyone. New York is Liu Hao's shelter. Whoever he allows to come in can come in. On the contrary, whoever he does not want to come in, no one dares to step in. The army who only wants to catch Laura can understand that Liu Hao, the light of New York, does not welcome them even if they think with their toes. Therefore, Liu Hao took Laura back to the New York Police Department, on the one hand to inquire about the situation of the X-Men, on the other hand to protect her safety. The army will never give up easily. The little wolf girl is too important to them. She is a copy of Wolverine Logan's genes, who wouldn't be tempted. The army will definitely try every means to kill Laura, or lure her away. If it is the latter, it will definitely require. Liu Hao looked in the direction of the director's office. Now everything is clear. Director Jack tried to let Laura go because he had been bribed by the army. Chapter 4: The Last Hero. Once Laura leaves New York and loses the protection of Liu Hao, the king of New York, the army will succeed, and Laura will be tortured until death. Dear Chief Jack, how much money did they give you to betray me and even despise the position of chief? Betrayal is what Liu Hao hates most, but Chief Jack is just a small character and is not in a hurry to deal with him. What Liu Hao is more interested in is the army. Putting aside the plot of X-Men, the little wolf girl Laura is not a good person. Her mood is erratic, her personality is violent. She kills when she says she will kill in a conflict, and she has no concept of good and evil. But anyway, she came to Liu Hao's territory, and how to treat her is up to Liu Hao himself. Those ignorant armies dared to touch New York after hearing about my deeds. Obviously, they don't take me seriously. Liu Hao sneered. Think deeply, the army is just a pawn, manipulated by others. So, there must be someone behind the scenes who is so blatantly invading my territory. Things are far from as simple as they seem, and they are becoming more and more interesting. I really want to know who is the guy hiding behind the scenes and manipulating everything. Liu Hao took out his cell phone and dialed a number calmly. The phone rang, and before Liu Hao could speak, Jack asked enthusiastically, "It's me, Jack. Phone. What's the matter?" Liu Hao smiled and replied, "Now, you can let Laura Kinney go free." "Oh, really? I mean, why did you suddenly change your mind? I know I shouldn't ask too much, but more than an hour ago. It doesn't matter, I have a new understanding. I think I should trust your judgment. After all, you are my closest partner, right? Ah, yes. I swear. My loyalty to you is unquestionable. I love you like I love my relatives, my friend. The person on the other end of the phone responded firmly. Okay, let's do it. Let Laura Kinney go. Not only let her leave the police station, but also let her stay away from New York. The farther the better. After hanging up the phone, Liu Hao supported his chin with both hands. No matter who is hiding behind, if you want to play, I will play with you to the end. But don't let me down. At the other end of New York, in a secret base, a group of men in black stood in the darkness, like ghosts in the world. In the crowd, a leader-like man took out his mobile phone from his pocket and answered, "Are you sure?" After talking for a few minutes, he hung up the phone, turned around and said loudly to everyone, "The wolf is out of the cage. Everyone be alert and prepare for action. This time, we must catch her alive, remember, alive?" As night fell, Liu Hao left the office, and it was time to get off work. After walking out of the police station door, he stayed for a moment intentionally or unintentionally, did nothing, just smiled, and then left the New York Police Department as if nothing had happened. At the same time, on a high-rise building a mile away, a sight locked Liu Hao tightly, but it was not for shooting, but used as a telescope. After all, he couldn't easily attack Liu Hao. After observing Liu Hao's movements, the shadow of the high-rise building made a phone call. "Chief Jack is right. New York star Liu Hao is off work. What should we do now?" "Act as planned, and take action immediately after X-23 is released." Instructions from the other end of the phone. "But do we really have to break into New York to arrest people? I'm a little worried." "Stupid. Is your head full of apple pie?" The other party reprimanded harshly. The voice on the other end of the phone was firm. "Now is the time when Liu Hao is most relaxed, and it is also our best opportunity. There is no need to wait for X-23 to leave New York. As long as you leave the police station, it is time to act. Be quick. Remember, everyone must go all out. Even without Liu Hao, X-23 cannot be underestimated. Don't forget the fate of those people last time. Helpless, he could only bite the bullet and act. Understood. This time we will wash away the shame." And all this was captured by Liu Hao's extraordinary hearing. He remained calm on the surface and continued to go home. It's time to tell you what our Chinese proverb, "The mantis stalks the cicada, and the oriole is behind," means, boys. On the other side, the little wolf girl Laura in a gray hoodie walked out of the New York Police Department. Just 1 hour after she talked with Liu Hao, she received the news that she could leave. Others were puzzled by this, and didn't understand why Liu Hao refused to let the little wolf girl show up 1 minute ago, and let her go inexplicably the next minute. But Laura had understood Liu Hao's intention. Everything was in Liu Hao's plan. He meant to play the long game, and Laura was the bait. Thinking of this, she whispered to herself, "Anyway, it's a dead end. I can only believe that this guy can really help me. Now I'm still on the run. Whether I'm caught for research or not, it doesn't make much difference with Liu Hao's help." As Liu Hao said, Laura had no choice. The man known as the Star of New York might be the only one who could help her. Who else could save her except him? Even the X-Men disappeared. Is there anyone in the world who can save people like her? Is there a superhero? If there is, it's Liu Hao. He may be the last hero in New York. Laura strolled in the night of New York, America. The skyscrapers were no different from the jungle to her, except that they were made of reinforced concrete, and humans were more greedy than beasts, which Laura deeply understood. She put on her hat, lowered her head and walked through the crowd, scanning every pedestrian with a sharp gaze. Ordinary people, otakus, office workers. This is not Laura's super ability, but a skill honed after birth. She can judge a person's occupation and personality by observing their appearance, especially military personnel. After years of escape, Laura knows the behavior and habits of these soldiers who track X-Men. Just standing and exchanging glances, Laura can obtain the identity information of the other party, just like a scanner. In the past escapes, she relied on this skill to successfully escape many times. Although most of the time, she directly cut off the enemy's head, but this skill is indeed useful, allowing her to avoid investing too much energy in certain things, such as now. 3 people, no, 5. Only the inner side of the index finger and thumb has calluses. The palm is rough, but the back of the hand is smooth, and the eyes always look at me unconsciously. Judging from the figure, they are stormtroopers. Laura immediately analyzed it. The mercenary disguised as an ordinary person secretly reported, X-23 is still under surveillance. This is the busiest street in New York. It is difficult for us to start, unless... Wait, X-23 suddenly started running. She noticed our presence. The 5 soldiers received the pursuit order and chased Laura, but felt something was wrong during the chase. She did not choose the bustling avenue, but walked into the dark alley. This is not the place where prey would choose to hide. Could it be? Chapter 5. His shooting skills are like cheating. Before the army's inference was implemented, the abdomen was pierced by 2 claws. Laura pulled it, and the abdominal cavity ruptured by itself. Other mercenaries noticed it and hurriedly drew their guns, But it was too late. Laura turned into a ghost in the night, spinning and flying. Her extraordinary movement skills made the steel claws in her hands harvest lives like a sickle. In an instant, 5 bodies fell in a pool of blood. Laura looked at them and sneered. "If you want to kill me, you have to show your real ability." She turned around and wanted to leave, but unexpectedly, a whoosh sounded, like a bird's cry, and the next second, her neck was hit. Damn it! Laura was not stupid, and immediately realized the existence of the sniper. The sniper did not shoot a bullet, but an anesthetic needle, but this was worse than a bullet. The self-healing ability inherited by Laura from her father Logan can repair bullet wounds, but it is powerless against anesthetics. Once the drug takes effect, she will be at the mercy of others. X-23 has hit. Confirmed X-23 has hit. She already has antibodies in her body. One shot is not enough to subdue her. Keep shooting. Wolfpack team blocked the exit. The commander ordered calmly, his words revealing professionalism. A shot of anesthetic has made Laura lose half of her strength, and she is facing a desperate situation. Laura's consciousness gradually blurred, and she realized in the blur that the mercenaries outside were ready with guns, like hungry beasts, and she was a lamb to be slaughtered. But Laura will never bow to fate. As long as there is a little hope, she will not give up. She pulled out the anesthetic needle from her neck and roared, "You bastards! Even if I die, I will drag you to hell together." Swoosh! Another anesthetic needle shot, but Laura was prepared and successfully dodged it with her wolf-like intuition. Then, she suddenly spread her arms, and her father Wolverine's classic posture emerged in her mind. Her forearms stretched out to both sides, and the adamantium claws appeared instantly, and the combat mode was activated. She pounced on the mercenaries outside. Switch to live ammunition. Quick! The first target locked by Laura ordered his companions to fire in fear, and the muzzle spewed out devilish flames, intending to engulf Laura, but at this moment, Laura's speed was much faster than that of ordinary people. Laura, who was 2 meters away, was still a threat. When Laura was 7 steps away, the blade of death had been sharpened for them. Damn it! Open up! Puff! The carotid artery was cut off, and blood gushed out like a spring, dyeing the moonlight red, and also dyeing Laura's face red. The human army could not catch Laura's trace. At this moment, she was the incarnation of the death god. The fierce battle broke out, attracting countless onlookers, and news reports were overwhelming, but the identities of this group of people were well hidden, and the American people had no idea of their origins. Because only the claws were injected with adamantium in her body, Laura's agility even surpassed her father Wolverine Logan. She turned into a wolf that only knew how to kill, nourishing the adamantium claws with blood. But it is the existence of adamantium that becomes her fatal weakness. She cannot be as indestructible as Wolverine. Wolverine is covered with adamantium. Bullets cannot penetrate it, but Laura cannot. The military knows this very well. So, seeing that she is bloodthirsty, they have to save their lives first and use live ammunition to cripple her. The speed of live ammunition is much faster than anesthetic needles. As long as the firepower is dense enough, Laura cannot avoid it no matter how fast she is. Gunshots rang out, bullets rained down, and Laura's right arm was penetrated. Although she can recover by herself, she loses control for a short time. Seeing that it is effective, the military fired bullets to penetrate Laura's left arm. At this moment, Laura, whose arms can no longer fight, has become a useless person in the eyes of the military. Quick! Use the electric baton to make her lose her ability to move. A mercenary trembled and approached Laura, and suddenly, Laura kicked out high. Puff! The adamantium claws on the toes pierced the mercenary's neck. Laura laughed wildly. At this moment, she didn't care whether she could escape or not. She just wanted to kill a few more of these bastards before she died. Quick! Break her limbs and catch her. Remember, you must not kill her. The military leaders were still afraid of Laura's ability. Laura thought it was ridiculous. She laughed at these people in this society. Okay, go. You guys hurry up. Before the voice fell, a gunshot rang out from nowhere, and the mercenaries around him fell to the ground, and blood splashed all over the leader. Damn it! Someone is standing on Laura's side, and he is a guy with superb shooting skills. The leader was shocked and leaned over to find the gunman. However, the person who shot obviously didn't intend to give him time to think. Bang bang bang, bang bang bang. No matter how the mercenaries evaded or how they found cover, as if it was a natural law, whenever a gunshot sounded in the distance, one person would fall. This kind of shooting skills is like a cheat. The leader on the side witnessed this scene, and a terrifying character emerged in his mind, muttering to himself, "The shooting skills that never miss a shot? There is only one person in the United States who can do this. The man known as the Light of New York. Liu Hao." Damn, Jack. Didn't Natama say that Liu Hao had gone home after work to linger with his lover and knew nothing about this? What's going on now? How could your beloved light of New York come back? The leader slapped Director Jack directly. I know nothing about this. Jack covered his face, full of grievances, but his little head really couldn't understand all this. The commander was anxious, but he was helpless. He could neither find Liu Hao's trace nor find a reason for Liu Hao to stop attacking, and his elite mercenaries were falling one by one, like the spread of an epidemic. Laura also witnessed all this. At the moment when she was about to faint, the enemy army fell like dominoes. No matter how angry and exhausted Laura was, she was clear about the situation. Someone stood on her side, and this person was... You worked hard. Liu Hao, carrying a heavy sniper rifle, appeared in front of Laura. If you were a step later, you wouldn't have to come. It's better to come early than to come early. Anyway, you can recover by yourself, and it's good to kill a few more mercenaries to relieve your anger. Liu Hao put down the sniper rifle and replaced it with 2 pistols. As soon as the voice fell, the commander of the army picked up the megaphone and shouted to Liu Hao, Liu Hao, stop immediately. You don't know how big a mistake you made. You can't fight us. This is a fire, burning yourself. Before the commander finished speaking, he heard a gunshot and fell directly into a pool of blood with a bullet hole on his head. This scene stunned everyone present, including Director Jack, who sat on the ground. From the first sentence you said, I decided to kill you. Liu Hao smiled coldly. The U.S. military will never serve Americans, but only capital, and Liu Hao knows this very well. The remaining mercenaries still want to resist, but Liu Hao will not give them a chance. He raises his 2 guns and the bullets pour out, still 1 shot at a time, with no mistakes. Those who don't know what level of opponent they are facing should be you. Chapter 6. The Bullet That Turns. In the chaos, the shops on the street had long lost their intact windows, the buildings were crumbling, and broken bones and internal organs were scattered on the ground like household garbage. The flames licked the building materials, crackling. Such a scene reminds people of 2 armies fighting a small-scale battle, with heavy losses on both sides, forming a situation of both sides losing. However, this is not the case. One side may be a well-trained mercenary team, while the other side has only 2 people, one of whom is seriously injured. In other words, all the firepower comes from one person. The one who caused all this, the man who carried a heavy sniper rifle on his shoulder, integrating European and American bones with Asian faces, is called the Light of New York, Liu Hao. He looked at the hostile man and raised his pistol. I don't know what level of opponent we are facing. It should be you. Bang. The gunshot rang out. The picture froze at this moment, and Liu Hao's figure, like a god descending, was frozen on the big screen. At this moment, the audience, watching the big screen, took a breath of cold air at the same time. When watching the video, they seemed to have a huge stone on their chests and had difficulty breathing. This guy, Liu Hao, is simply a complete killer. One of the 7 people sitting around a round table said slowly, This is a dark room on the other side of New York. People are sitting around huge amounts of round tables, just like King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table in Western legends. The only difference is that they are wearing combat uniforms instead of armor. The big screen shows Liu Hao holding a heavy sniper rifle and killing mercenaries one by one. This is a weird ability. No matter how the mercenaries dodge or find cover, his bullets can always hit the target accurately, as if the bullets were equipped with an automatic navigation system at the moment of firing, which is terrifying. Such a gunmanship. He is definitely not an ordinary person. A steady voice sounded among the 7 people. This voice carries the traces of time. Like an old tree that has stood for 100 years, the upper half is shaky, but the roots of the lower half are deeply rooted in the soil. How many troops are there now? A man who looked younger thought for a moment and replied, General Boyd Horbury, the elite troops we sent out originally had 200 people, but now, there are less than 100 left. The captain also fell in a pool of blood. The middle-aged white-haired man called Boyd. After hearing this, his face became cold, his fists clenched, and then he took out his mobile phone and entered a number. After a few seconds of beeping, a voice came from the other end of the phone. This is the White House of the United States. I am General Boyd Horbury, who was responsible for dealing with mutants back then. Boyd talked to the other party in a heavy voice and finally said, Please solve all this as soon as possible, because my people are being killed by Liu Hao. At this point, Boyd paused for a moment, then uttered a word. Massacre. After that, the phone was hung up by the other party. Chapter 7. Back to New York. Jack, the chief of the New York Police Department, received news that the mercenaries would handle everything. However, facing such a scene, he could not feel happy. This is a scene like purgatory, bullets and swords tearing the air, leaving traces of smoke and flames. The blood just splattered, and was then bounced back by the bullets from the other side, staining the ground red, just like the massacre scene in the zombie game. Jack has not recovered from the scene in front of him. After all, before Liu Hao, he was still in the dark about Liu Hao. Unexpectedly, Liu Hao knew everything. He has seen Liu Hao's strength. Now, he has provoked the devil. This guy is a natural killer. He can kill with one shot as long as he aims. Liu Hao muttered to himself that the sniper rifle was too slow to load, and then he continued to kill with his gun. Facing Liu Hao's shooting skills, the enemy knew that a head-on confrontation would be tantamount to seeking death, so they could only try to win by wits, but all this was in vain. Because no matter how they evaded, Liu Hao's bullets always pierced his companions' heads accurately without missing a single one. What's terrifying is that even if they ran in circles, Liu Hao turned his wrist cleverly at the moment of pulling the trigger, and the bullet turned and flew in an incredible arc. That's right. You heard it right. It's a bullet that can turn. Oh my god. How is this possible? What kind of monster are we fighting? Didn't the leader give an order? Aren't there going to be reinforcements? Why haven't the reinforcements arrived yet? If they don't come, our elite troops will be wiped out. The mercenaries were not fools who would only passively take a beating. They also began to aim their guns at Liu Hao and pour out firepower. However, Liu Hao, a man like a monster, not only had superb marksmanship, but also extraordinary agility. For all the bullets shot at him, he either turned sideways, rolled, or stood still. The bullets seemed destined to deviate and shuttled past him. Liu Hao could see all the trajectories and aiming of the shots at a glance. While dodging the attacks, the bullets in Liu Hao's two guns were not idle. He could always accurately grasp the timing of shooting at the moment of dodging, moving flexibly and shooting accurately, as if a group of hot guns firestorm swept the battlefield. Such skills can no longer be described as proficient. Even the little wolf girl Laura, who stood on the same front as Liu Hao, was shocked. How did you do it? This is beyond the scope of human ability. Liu Hao shrugged and said lightly, the world is so big that there are all kinds of wonders. You can have steel claws and can self-heal after being hit by a hail of bullets. What's so strange about my bullets turning? Liu Hao chose silence. Because this is Liu Hao's unique skill obtained through the super lottery system, Bucket of Roll, which is a comprehensive fighting method exclusive to gunners. It is divided into many types according to the gunner's style. Currently, there are 4 known types: fast gunfighting, gunfighting alpha, gunfighting beta, and gunfighting gamma. Fast gunfighting, known for its speed, quickly draw the gun, and take the initiative to suppress the enemy with high-speed shooting. Experts can also use this to rush to the enemy and start a half-shooting and half-fighting melee, often using the gun handle as a weapon and suddenly attack. Gunfighting Alpha emphasizes firepower suppression, relying on judgment to predict the enemy's movements. Based on this, avoiding attacks through steps and positions, and using firearms to effectively shoot at the same time, covering all possible directions of the enemy's movements, predicting the enemy and taking the lead. Gunfighting Beta, weird and unpredictable. The user is good at close combat, integrating firearms into it, and firing cold guns unexpectedly. Experts are also proficient in hiding guns on their bodies, and no one knows where they are hidden when they are not shooting. Gunfighting Gamma. It is good at distance and has ultra-long-range strikes as its feature. Experts can also control the trajectory of bullets to achieve precise and efficient strikes. And Liu Hao demonstrated these 4 gunfighting techniques. This is why Liu Hao is known as the Light of New York, even though he did not show extraordinary physique. With gunfighting alone, he can become a killing god. Chapter 7 Wife Wanda. By the way, during the conversation with the little wolf girl, the bullets fired by the mercenaries with their backs to Liu Hao still failed to touch the corners of Liu Hao's clothes or hair. He dodged the bullets calmly like drinking water, drinking several liters in one breath without breathing. Okay, now it's my turn to fight back. Liu Hao turned around and joined the battle again. Every bullet was not wasted. When the bullets were exhausted, he casually took out the magazine from the package beside to replace it. At this moment, the mercenaries could take a short breath and didn't have to die continuously, but it was only temporary, because after changing the magazine, Liu Hao would become a killing god again. After killing more than 40 people in a row, the phone in Liu Hao's pocket rang. But he seemed to be unable to hear it, and the movement of his hands did not stop at all. Just like a child addicted to games, no external interference can interrupt his game time. He ignored the phone. He is crazy now. This guy is simply a complete devil. The soldiers over there shouted desperately, and Liu Hao, who didn't care about these at all, never stopped the gun in his hand. After killing 10 more people, the little wolf girl Laura couldn't help but say, "Your phone keeps ringing. Throw it away if you don't answer it. The ringing is annoying me." Liu Hao smiled. "I definitely have to answer it. I just want to play for a while longer. After all, I haven't had such a good time for a long time. Moreover, I don't need to guess who is calling and for what purpose." Liu Hao's words are not groundless, because his mobile phone is specially customized. He can call other people at will, but others can't call him, except for 2 designated people, one who always disturbs his entertainment time, and the other is his wife Wanda. And now it seems that Wanda is unlikely. That only leaves the one who will spoil Liu Hao's fun, and Liu Hao can't treat him too much. So, Liu Hao finally stopped shooting and answered the phone. As soon as the call was connected, a roar came from the other end of the phone. "Damn it, stop it." If someone else roared at Liu Hao like this, I'm afraid he would have disappeared long ago, not to mention Liu Hao who was red-eyed. It's like kicking a lion's ass hard. However, When Liu Hao heard the voice on the phone, he was not angry, but laughed. Isn't this my old friend Arthur? Why did you make an exception and call me today? Do you want to invite me to Washington, D.C. for a drink again? Liu Hao, stop pretending to be stupid with me. You always throw the mess to me and ask me to clean up your mess. What's more annoying is that you don't answer the phone. There was a roar from the other end of the phone. Liu Hao still smiled. Oh, I was busy just now. Although it's not a big deal, it's just a fight with a group of children. Why does such a small matter require the director of the Washington Police Department to call in person? Children? They are military personnel? You killed their elite troops of 200 people by yourself. It would be strange if they didn't come to settle accounts with you. You are still talking slickly here. You are my boss. Who else should they go to if not you? Liu Hao smiled. I am so angry. The other party's roar sounded like a girlfriend's coquettishness to Liu Hao. Not only was he not annoyed, but he found it interesting. After all, this is not the first time Liu Hao has done this. I am afraid that the fingers on both hands are not enough to count the things he has done. The man who called was Liu Hao's boss, Arthur. He was also the chief of the Washington Police Department. In addition to the relationship between superiors and subordinates, they are also close partners in private. Because of this, Arthur cannot blame Liu Hao like he treats ordinary subordinates. As I said just now, this is not the first time Liu Hao has gotten into trouble. So they have an agreement that Arthur will only call Liu Hao if he receives a mandatory execution order. This means that a powerful force has intervened. Usually, when such a force is used to solve the problem, it must be that Liu Hao has offended someone with great power again. In this case, Liu Hao cannot embarrass Arthur, so as long as he answers the phone, he must stop the action. In the end, Arthur can only order Liu Hao. In short, no more killing of military personnel is allowed now. Leave there immediately. Also, no shooting when leaving. Okay, I know anyway. Liu Hao glanced at the dozen or so mercenaries who were still alive and shrugged. They are almost killed. Arthur wanted to say something, but Liu Hao had hung up the phone. Throwing away the pistol, he helped up the little wolf girl Laura whose injury had improved. The game is over. I think you have seen enough. Let's go. What else can you do? In Laura's view, even if Liu Hao did such a terrible thing today, she still believed in her heart that this was definitely not his limit. He was like a super being with unlimited potential. Liu Hao did not answer directly. Men need to maintain a sense of mystery, don't they? The military affairs came to an end for the time being. Just as Liu Hao's boss and old friend Arthur always did. All the police station people went out to deal with Liu Hao's operation tonight. Some people cleaned up the scene. Some people transported the bodies. Some people compensated the owners of the damaged shops. And some people handled news reports. Now is the information age. Liu Hao made such a big deal. If it is not handled properly, the impact will only get bigger and bigger. The police station is quite skilled in such matters. As for the elite troops who were killed by Liu Hao and only a dozen people were left, it may be that through Arthur's arrangement, they were taken away by their boss, which is irrelevant to Liu Hao. They are just pawns and can't make any waves. Liu Hao's gunfighting ability is already superb. Although it may not be useful against superheroes like Avengers, it is too easy to deal with mercenaries. Liu Hao crossed his arms and watched the police clean up the mess. The phone in his pocket suddenly rang. It was still the phone that only 2 people could call. Arthur had already called, so even elementary school students could figure out this simple subtraction problem. It was his wife Wanda's phone. As the saying goes, you say what you say to the person you meet. Liu Hao saw that it was his wife's number, and he squeezed out a smile before answering the phone. Hi, my beauty. After answering the phone, his tone became extremely gentle, as if every word was carefully selected. Yes, there is a little thing at the police station. I may be late to go home. Yes, I am also very upset. I am really sorry that I can't accompany you, dear. By the way, have you had dinner? Why don't I bring something back later? Okay. I love you too, Mua. Liu Hao talked to Wanda like an obsessed girl. The little wolf girl Laura, who was watching all this, couldn't believe her eyes. Liu Hao, the killer god who just treated the army like ants and human lives like grass, was actually sweeter than the apple pie she had eaten a few days ago. The contrast was not a little bit. Chapter 8 Spider-Man. In response, she couldn't help but complain. You are Chinese, so you can do Sichuan opera face-changing, right? Liu Hao didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and said, although I don't know where you learned about Chinese culture, I always feel that you are mocking me. Don't doubt it, I am mocking you. Laura said bluntly. You don't understand. You should be fierce to your enemies and gentle to your wife. This is our fine tradition of China. Liu Hao seemed a little proud. You, a little girl who has never been in love, definitely don't understand these. Do you want me to introduce you to a partner at the police station? In the New York Police Department, are there any tough guys who can completely control you? There are a lot of cream boys. Are you interested? Liu Hao teased, and the little wolf girl rolled her eyes. After the little wolf girl expressed her attitude, Liu Hao lost interest and stopped teasing her. The two returned to Liu Hao's office together, and then 2 policemen escorted Jack, the chief of the New York Police Department. This chief, who once had power at least on the surface of the police station, is now detained by a policeman who is not sure how many levels lower than him. It is somewhat ironic. His betrayal of Liu Hao has made him ashamed to face anyone now. If he had not been tied up tightly, Jack would have dug deep into the ground and hid there. Liu Hao looked at him and was not furious, which was surprising. Perhaps it was because he had just had a heart-to-heart talk with his wife and was in a good mood. Or perhaps Liu Hao had already seen through Chief Jack's betrayal. So, Liu Hao looked deeply at Jack and asked softly, "My dear New York Police Commissioner, what is the reason that you, who have always been fair and selfless and hate evil, betrayed the whole of New York?" Jack was silent for a moment and slowly said, "I have imagined countless excuses to defend myself, but I can't say it to you. To tell you the truth, there is no special reason. But they provided me with a huge fortune that I can't earn as a commissioner in my lifetime. So, as you said, I betrayed New York. No matter what punishment, I accept it without complaint." Chief Jack's eyes were sincere, as if he was seeking Liu Hao's understanding, but Liu Hao was not affected by it. Whether it was true or not, Liu Hao didn't care. He had his own principles in doing things. Liu Hao spoke slowly. "Traitors cannot be forgiven. You betrayed New York. Although you didn't kill anyone, you should be punished. Go to the Mississippi Delta to spend your old age. No one there can support you to betray New York. It's a good choice for you." Okay. Jack was taken away. Until the last moment, Jack's attitude remained the same, which showed that he was not acting. But Liu Hao didn't care whether he was acting or not. After dealing with Jack, it was the turn of the little wolf girl Laura. Liu Hao turned to her. "You should be clear about your crimes. Although you are fleeing because of the military's pursuit, you have killed countless innocent civilians along the way. You must accept the judgment of the law." Laura asked first, "So, will I be put in jail first? I didn't expect you to have a decent attitude." "Yes, you have to wait for trial in jail. If I find you running away, I will catch you back myself," Liu Hao said seriously. The little wolf girl Laura did not refute. For her, it was the same wherever she stayed. In prison, at least someone provided food, and she did not have to worry about tomorrow's sunshine. Nor did she have to be terrified to wake up in the morning and find that she had become an experimental subject. As long as this seemingly frivolous man who was called the Light of New York was there, the New York Police Department might be the safest place in the world. Laura, who had experienced many hardships, was not afraid of the verdict. After the wolf girl left, Liu Hao's stomach growled. Even the strongest people need to eat. He had hardly eaten anything after a busy day. "I heard that the new restaurant nearby is good." Liu Hao, who was about to go home, planned to go to a nearby pizza shop to buy a few pizzas for Wanda. There were few customers in the pizza shop late at night. Liu Hao walked to the counter and ordered 2 large barbecue pizzas, but the other party was indifferent. Liu Hao thought it was a hearing problem for the waiter, so he repeated, "Is my English not standard? Dude, 2 large barbecue pizzas, add more cheese." You are. Not only did the other party not respond to Liu Hao, but he jumped up excitedly, covered his mouth and stammered. "Are you Liu Hao, the Light of New York?" A 15 or 16-year-old boy asked excitedly. Liu Hao smiled bitterly and nodded. "It's really you. Oh my god. You actually came to this shabby..." "No, I shouldn't say that the restaurant I work in is not good, although it's really not delicious, but it doesn't matter. The key is that I was so lucky to meet you." The boy's performance made Liu Hao laugh out loud. It's really a coincidence. Liu Hao's words were full of meaning, because he recognized the boy. He is a good neighbor praised by New Yorkers. "I'm glad to see you too, Peter." "Oh, you, what? I don't think I said my name yet." Liu Hao pointed to Peter's clothes and explained, "It's written on the work card, Peter Parker, right? If I spelled it correctly." So that's it. "Haha," I said. "How could Liu Hao, the famous Light of New York, know an unknown person like me? Hey, you shouldn't look down on yourself." Liu Hao patted Peter's shoulder and encouraged him as a senior. "You are no different from me," Liu Hao said seriously. "But you are a hero, and I am just an unknown person. Believe in yourself. One day you will become a person like me, or even a more famous and useful hero than me, a superhero." "Superhero? Me? Really?" "Definitely true. Silly boy, you are Spider-Man. As a superhero in the history of American comics who is as popular as DC Batman, no one in the entire Marvel universe can match your popularity." Liu Hao thought to himself. In fact, no matter how powerful a superhero is, he is essentially a human being, with both advantages and disadvantages, and even more weird than ordinary people. For example, Iron Man Tony Stark. Before he became a superhero, he was a playboy billionaire with a paranoid and conceited personality. Especially, he is a genius in the field of science and technology, and often speaks without thinking. This is how the story of Iron Man 2 unfolds. Liu Hao also knows some other guys. In the world of the boys, among the 7 peculiar heroes, The deep sea pretending to be Aquaman will show a sly smile to the novice hero Defeji. The Homelander pretending to be Superman is emotionally immature and a child who never grows up. And the fake The Flash locomotive is selfish and only cares about himself. Although this work is not a typical superhero story, its heroes are more flesh and blood and more real than traditional heroes. Liu Hao himself is not flawless. For example, Chapter 9 Liu Hao's profile. He is irresistible to the charm of women, whether it is breasts or buttocks, which can make him compromise more than anything in the world. As long as he is immersed in the world of women, morality and justice will be thrown out of his mind, and saving New York will only be a casual act when he is in the mood. However, facing Peter, he chooses to encourage him instead of exposing his weaknesses. The key to being a hero is courage, kindness, and justice. I believe you have these qualities, but you must hold yourself to the highest standards. Because with great power comes great responsibility. Peter Parker listened attentively, especially the crucial motto. Finally, Liu Hao concluded, "So, promise me that if you become a hero one day, you will be the greatest one. Can you do it?" Peter excitedly replied, "I understand, Mr. Liu Hao." In this way, Liu Hao inadvertently became Peter's superhero mentor, and even said Spider-Man's famous line before Uncle Ben passed away. Peter took the pizza and asked Liu Hao for an autograph before leaving. Liu Hao specially wrote it in Chinese, and when he handed it to him, Peter's eyes sparkled. Perhaps this will inspire Peter's interest in learning Chinese. A Spider-Man who knows Chinese is quite interesting. After a busy day, Liu Hao finally returned home. As soon as he sat down, Wanda rushed over and snuggled in his arms. Liu Hao smiled and gave her a passionate kiss. "Why are you so late tonight? I'm bored to death if you don't accompany me to watch a movie." Wanda tapped Liu Hao's nose coquettishly. "Today there are too many cases. The police station can't do without me, so I have to work overtime. After all, I am the Asgardian of New York. I can't just have a title without doing anything. I bought you your favorite barbecue pizza. The meat is especially delicious today. I also asked the waiter to add more cheese. It is your favorite flavor." Wanda held the pizza and jumped happily like a child. She was so easy to satisfy and was also a woman who loved Liu Hao deeply. "Huh, this is more like it. I'm hungry, let's go and eat." Liu Hao nodded and took Wanda to dinner. After dinner, the two returned to the sofa. Wanda leaned on Liu Hao's legs and watched the movie that Liu Hao owed her. After watching the movie, Wanda told Liu Hao, "By the way, dear, I have to go on a business trip tomorrow." "Business trip? Which job? Is it the art director's job?" "Yes, why can't you remember my job?" Wanda pretended to be angry, and Liu Hao replied with a wry smile, "Because you change jobs too frequently. If you concentrate on doing one thing well, you may become a rich woman, and then I will be your little white face. I am looking forward to this day." Slippery. Wanda said this, but there was no dissatisfaction on her face. "This business trip will take half a month, and we won't see each other for a while." "Half a month? So long?" Liu Hao narrowed his eyes. "Then I have to feed you tonight." The next day, in a military base far away from New York, in a dim room, the 7 leaders still sat around the round table. Although the screen no longer played the scene of the devil's arrival, the solemnity on everyone's face was no less than last time. Last time they only discussed how to stop the devil, but now it is more serious. They have to discuss how to expel this devil. This is undoubtedly more difficult than the previous one. How to completely eradicate an opponent that is difficult to stop. Use the army to encircle him again? The last time, the well-trained elite troops were wiped out. This time, a large number of troops will be deployed to deal with this guy who can fight 1 against 100. The losses will be heavy. Let him go just like that? Definitely not. Liu Hao alone is enough to make the entire military panic. Ignore this problem. How to boost the morale in the future? Moreover, what if Liu Hao, the light of New York, suddenly appears when performing other tasks? This guy is a natural warrior. This time he used an assault rifle, and next time he may change to something else. Watching everyone pondering, no one made suggestions. It's not that there are no countermeasures, but everyone is thinking about how to solve the problem at the lowest cost. The white-haired General Boyd Holbrook, who was sitting in the first place, broke the silence and asked tentatively, "So, do you have a response plan?" General Boyd's words were like a death warrant, and no response might mean punishment. So, the Deputy Major Wilson slowly spoke. "At present, there is no best solution. A low cost will not work, and a high cost is not cost-effective. I can only say that Liu Hao, the light of New York, is really unfathomable." Boyd heard this and asked, "Why is it unfathomable? Isn't he just good at guns?" No matter how proficient a person is in guns or how superb his devilish skills are, he is still a human being. Being a human being, there are weaknesses. He has shown ability in guns, but I am sure that this guy's real strength is far more than that. His eyes tell me this. "We got it, Major." Liu Hao, nicknamed Lion, has been included in the bounty list. Bounty, $500,000. Everything is handled according to the rules. Continental Hotel is always your reliable partner. After hanging up the phone, Major Wilson's eyes were calm and firm. He knew that this decision might cause some waves, but under the current circumstances, this was the best strategy. He looked at the general, and Boyd nodded slightly, both of them flashing the same determination in their eyes. On the other side, deep in the Continental Hotel, a new bounty was quietly born, waiting for those fearless killers to chase and hunt. And all this was done silently, just like the ghost in Proxima Midnight. Only those who were in it could perceive its existence. Transaction completed. Please check the order details. Target person, Liu Hao. Occupation, New York Police. Reward amount, $5 million. Effective time, immediate. Confirmed. After Major Wilson confirmed, the person on the other end of the phone left a last sentence before hanging up. The order has been confirmed. The bounty mission has been launched and will be released soon. After the bounty hunter takes over, we will contact you again. Please pay attention. Inside the Continental Hotel, receive the mission instructions. A woman wearing a white shirt, a black short skirt, long hair tied up, glasses, and tattoos on her fingers ended the call. Then, she stepped on black stilettos and walked slowly to the archive room full of folders. She searched through the coded drawers in the neatly arranged filing cabinets on the wall one by one, looking for Liu Hao's information. After some screening, she quickly found the target. Opening Liu Hao's file, the Continental Hotel's records are usually detailed. Even the number of times the target has been in love and work experience are clear. However, Liu Hao's file only has a few pages. Liu Hao, male, policeman, known as the Star of New York, Chinese-American mixed, once raised a pastoral dog. Chapter 10. Extraordinary physique. Even the bounty administrator who recorded the fate of every bounty target day after day, like a judge of life and death, could not help but feel surprised. Why is there so little information about this mixed-race man named Liu Hao? But this is not the administrator's concern. Her task is just to add Liu Hao's name to the bounty list. So, she skillfully turned on the computer, entered Liu Hao's identity information, and finally pressed the enter key. The screen instantly displayed. The bounty was successfully released. Sending completed. It was like an instant lunar eclipse. The moment before, Americans were busy with their own things, playing games, working, and couples were intimate. However, the next second after the bounty was successfully released, beep, beep, this text message alert sound seemed to resound around the world, and at least 1 in 10 people in New York received this message. They all checked their phones at the same time, lowered their heads to read the message, and a unified solemn expression appeared on their faces. Afterwards, they returned to their own lives and continued their work at hand. A man in black with a beard and a hairstyle similar to that of a tramp also received this message. Seeing the message, a serious look flashed across his face. He looked at the screen and read the last one. Animal lovers? John? What's wrong? His girlfriend appeared at the door. Nothing. I received a message from my previous workplace. Maybe they forgot that I had retired. John Wick turned off his phone and adjusted his tie. Still habitually sending you messages after retirement? It seems that you did a good job in the past. His girlfriend hugged John's neck and kissed his cheek. It's just like that, not particularly outstanding. John Wick stroked his girlfriend's hair and answered casually, as if he was talking about an ordinary thing. However, how could she know that the man in front of her who was wholeheartedly devoted to her was once a figure that the Bounty Hunter Guild was afraid of? Nightcrawler John Wick. The people he killed were enough to form a town. He was proficient in firearms and could even turn everything around him into a weapon as long as he had the intention to kill. The most terrifying record was that he once killed 3 people with a pencil. Forget it if you are not interested. Hurry up, let's go. Sarah's wedding is about to start. Don't be late. His girlfriend took John Wick's hand and left home. The bounty has been issued. Although the amount is not outrageous, it is tempting enough. Most people will think carefully before accepting the task, except John Wick. At this moment, John Wick does not care about the bounty money because he is retired for his girlfriend, but he still habitually checks the information. What he cares about is whether the person who is bountied by the Union will have an impact on his and his girlfriend's daily life. Moreover, Liu Hao has raised dogs, and John Wick is an avid dog lover. Although John Wick did not take over the task, there are many bounty hunters in the guild who are willing to accept it. Sure enough, the bounty was issued in less than 20 minutes. Major Wilson, who was still at the military base, received a call from the Continental Hotel Bounty Hunter Guild. It was still the female voice. Your bounty has been received, and we will solve the problem for you as soon as possible. We will inform you of the follow-up progress in time. I wish you a happy life and a reduction of most enemies. This is the efficiency of the Bounty Hunter Guild. After hanging up the phone, Wilson whispered to himself, full of admiration in his heart, but that was all. At Liu Hao's home in New York, Wanda had been away on business for 6 days. Liu Hao was alone at home and knew nothing about the reward. He was only wearing shorts and headphones, sitting on the balcony enjoying the sunshine and listening to music. His life was extremely comfortable. Sunshine, music, beautiful scenery, a paradise on earth is just like this. While listening to music, a translucent prompt box popped up in Liu Hao's mind. Today's lottery opportunity has not been used. Do you want to start the lottery? Lottery. Liu Hao chose without hesitation, but he was not excited at all, because this was his daily routine for 6 days and he was already tired of it. More importantly, Liu Hao's luck in the lottery was extremely bad, very bad. The lottery was successful. You won. Wong Wong crushed ice. Liu Hao had a blank expression, stretched out his hand in the air to grab today's prize, split it in two, and licked it. He was already bored and no longer had high expectations. The daily lottery became a part of his life, just like drinking water and going to the toilet. Lottery is undoubtedly an extremely exciting experience for anyone, because you never know what you will win. The super lottery system that Liu Hao is bound to can draw prizes every day, and the prizes cover all kinds of fields, from physical objects to special abilities. Maybe one day he can draw Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet, which can wipe out half of the life on Earth with just a flick of the finger. However, Liu Hao's luck is really bad. In the past 6 days, all he got were useless things. For example, his hidden, super physique, or all-round gun skills, that earned him the reputation of the Light of New York. These have never appeared. In 3 years, 1,000 draws, there are only a few divine items, and the rest are all garbage. Liu Hao has long been accustomed to it. Yesterday's Coca-Cola, at least it was not expired and could quench thirst. But the day before yesterday he drew a cramp in both legs for 2 minutes, which made him laugh and cry. Super physique may be the best reward in the system. Liu Hao sighed while chewing want snow cake. After all, Superman is the son of DC, the first superhero in the history of American comics, and the spiritual symbol of the nation. His upper limit of strength is simply incredible. However, my extraordinary physique needs to be sunbathed to gradually improve the comprehensive ability. This is also the reason why Liu Hao often comes to sunbathe. Superman's super ability comes from the explosion of the red giant star of the mother star. After coming to the Earth, it is enhanced by the sunlight. Therefore, even if Superman jumps into the sun, he will not die, but will become stronger. The burning of the sun cannot match his upgrade speed. Although the upgrade is quick and easy, Superman's upper limit is too abnormal. Just like playing a 900-level character, even if you brush 1/3 of the experience every day, it may take months or even years. Fortunately, sunbathing does not cost money, and it's good to sunbathe every day. Extraordinary physique also makes Liu Hao's figure become excellent. After sunbathing for a long time, Liu Hao changed into a uniform and went to the police station, seeking data, flowers, evaluation tickets, monthly tickets. Friends with ability can reward and urge. American comics seem to be less popular. They are all writing martial arts, history, and cities. I hope everyone can support it if they like it. Thank you. Good morning, Officer Liu. There were still greetings on the road. As the Light of New York, Liu Hao responded to everyone with a smile. Since the last incident, there have been no major incidents in the police station, and even rape and murder cases have been greatly reduced. The daily cases are trivial cases, such as theft, family disputes, missing pets, etc., which really do not interest me. Chapter 11. Laura wakes up. Usually, Liu Hao would leave these to the newcomers to practice, and he would not intervene too much. He also taught them a Chinese proverb, overqualified for a job. Whether they understood it or not was their business. Liu Hao liked to be lazy anyway. In the matter of the director, after the Trader Jack was exiled to the most remote state in the United States by Liu Hao, the general administration sent a new director named Jax. The new director Jax was a black man, tall and thin, looked honest, worked hard, and looked like a typical excellent graduate. He respected Liu Hao very much and had obviously heard of Liu Hao's deeds a long time ago. After all, he was the Light of New York and everyone knew him. Liu Hao also tried to keep a low profile, but his strength did not allow it. Now, when he went out to buy a pizza, he might be recognized by the working Spider-Man Peter Parker. In the original world, this kind of treatment only belonged to the traffic stars on the screen. Fortunately, people in this world admire people with strength more. In short, the current situation of the police station is relatively stable. Liu Hao was satisfied with this and walked straight into the office. After sitting down, he planned to see if there were any special cases, but found nothing. At the moment, Liu Hao remembered Laura's case. He immediately called his men. Soon, a short man walked in. Good morning, Brother Liu. What can I do for you? This is Chen Long, an able police officer under Liu Hao. Because he is a mixed race like Liu Hao, he takes extra care of this man with Chinese ancestry. Chen Long did not disappoint his expectations, worked seriously, and was Liu Hao's most capable subordinate. Hearing that his name Chen Long was to pay tribute to Jackie Chan, the pride of the Chinese, made Liu Hao value him even more. Now, Liu Hao needs to ask him about what happened that day. Do you remember the case 6 days ago? The woman who was arrested for murder, Laura Kinney? Liu Hao asked. I asked you to handle it at that time. How is it going? He remembered that he asked this person to be responsible for this matter, so he called him specially. Chen Long did have an impression and replied, yes, I had someone send her there at that time. Check the records to confirm. Okay. A few minutes later, He came back with a serious face. Brother Liu, something went wrong. Laura Kinney was not sent to prison, but was taken away on the same day. Liu Hao heard this. His face sank. Was she taken away by someone? Yes, that's what the records show. I understand. Liu Hao regained his composure and waved the police officer to leave. Qianlong wanted to say something, but knowing Liu Hao's character, he left. Liu Hao picked up the phone and dialed a number skillfully. Liu Hao, no polite words. Why didn't Laura Kinney go to prison 6 days ago? On the other end of the phone was Jax, the new director. He had no idea about the Laura Kinney mentioned by Liu Hao, but out of respect for Liu Hao, he still conducted an investigation. After finding out, he reported, she was indeed not in prison, but was taken away. Check who gave the order. Liu Hao said firmly. Although Jax had no idea who the woman was or why Liu Hao was so obsessed with this matter, he followed the instructions and found out. I found it. Liu Hao asked, who is it? Which organization? Jax replied, Washington Police Headquarters. Are you sure? Liu Hao frowned. It's the headquarters. Jax confirmed, the signature and official seal on the transfer order are all from the headquarters. There is no mistake. Got it. You continue to work. Liu Hao hung up the phone with Jax and called the private number of his direct superior, Arthur, the chief of the Washington Police Department. Liu Hao, what's wrong? Arthur asked. Liu Hao asked, did you know that Laura Kinney was taken away by the Washington Police Department? Laura Kinney? Is that the woman you wanted to send to prison after the last incident? Arthur asked back, and Liu Hao patiently admitted. He also added, I originally planned to let her stay in prison, but that was not the case. And this matter seems to be related to the Washington Police Department. I didn't issue such an order. Arthur denied it flatly. Liu Hao responded seriously, I found out that the transfer order was issued from the headquarters, so I think you should know. No, I know nothing about it. Arthur replied. Okay, I know. Liu Hao hung up the phone and sat alone in the office, thinking about it all. Someone took away the little wolf girl Laura without authorization, and was able to act under Liu Hao's nose, using the transfer order of the headquarters. In the whole of New York, and even in the whole of the United States, there are only a handful of organizations that can do this. It is an extremely powerful organization, and it has already set its sights on Liu Hao. Soon, Jax's new message came. Liu Hao answered the call and Jax reported. Liu Hao, regarding Laura Kinney, we checked the surveillance and found that although the transfer order came from the General Administration, the person who took Laura away was not from the General Administration. Sure enough, there are forces operating in secret. Fortunately, Liu Hao is familiar with all the plots of the Marvel Universe, including various factions. If it is those forces, Liu Hao is confident that they can identify them one by one. So he said, send the video to me. I want to watch it myself. Okay. Soon, Liu Hao's special mobile phone received a video. Liu Hao knows the people in the General Administration, and the ones in the surveillance are not them. Coincidentally, a figure holding a bow that Liu Hao is very familiar with appeared in the video. Hawkeye. Liu Hao recognized him immediately, but at the moment he had not yet obtained the title of Hawkeye as a member of the Avengers. In other words, at the moment he was still unclear about which organization he belonged to. Liu Hao held his chin with both hands. Thinking about this, his eyes became sharp. He talked to himself, as if talking to an enemy. Whether you are SHIELD or HYDRA, if you dare to touch me, you will pay the price. I don't know how long it took. Laura woke up. She opened her eyes and found herself sitting on a chair. Her hands and feet were chained, and she was surrounded by a closed space made of glass. Although she was isolated, she could see what was happening outside, but she was completely isolated from the outside world. However, the scene outside the glass room was not much better. All I could see were people in white coats, medicine bottles, and scientific research equipment. They were busy with their heads down, like robots, but I didn't know how many people their research results would kill in the future. As a mutant, Laura had lived in this environment since she was a child, and she instinctively felt disgusted. At this time, a bald middle-aged man walked slowly, approached Laura, then opened the glass cell door and walked in. The bald man put his hands behind his back and looked at Laura. Hello, Miss Laura. I am Baron Strucker. Welcome to HYDRA. Or do you like others to call you X23? Strucker asked with narrowed eyes. Laura looked at Strucker coldly and did not respond. He continued, yes, for you. We have done a lot of homework. We know a lot about you. You are very interesting. Chapter 12 Like a Fool. Strucker said, his eyes sparkling. Look at you, adamantium claws, powerful self-healing ability, wolf-like agility and ferocity, excellent imitation skills. You are simply the perfect successor to your father Wolverine Logan. 22 clones failed before you. Only you, the 23rd, only you perfectly inherited Logan's super ability. Do you know why? Strucker asked Laura suggestively. Laura was silent, obviously already knew it. Strucker continued, the DNA of Dr. Sarah, who was responsible for your experiment back then, is all over your body. You have as many similarities with Sarah as you do with Logan. So, You are the biological daughter of Dr. Sarah Kinney and Wolverine Logan. Laura was silent, obviously already knew it. Baron Strucker looked up like a madman, with his hands raised high. Perfect Wolverine genes. How amazing. How amazing. Laura looked at Strucker coldly. You brought me here from the place where I was about to go to prison. It shouldn't be just to praise me? Strucker understood what the little wolf girl meant, smiled and walked to Laura, and gently stroked her heroic face. Oh, yes, we do have a purpose. Because Laura's hands and feet were locked, she could not threaten Strucker, so he could be more presumptuous. For a genius like you, we will invite you to join us. Join your ranks? Laura sneered. A stage actor led a group of scientific researchers in white coats, hiding in a dark laboratory day after day. Sorry, I am no longer the 10-year-old child who is addicted to playing family games. She flatly rejected Baron Strucker's proposal. Do you think you still have room for choice? Baron Strucker's face suddenly darkened. Imagine that we can bring you here from the New York police. Even if you escape now, we can make sure you don't see the dawn of tomorrow. Your so-called organization is just an exaggeration. Even Liu Hao dares not challenge him face to face. You can only play tricks behind the scenes. What kind of person is it? Laura's tone is still firm. Liu Hao, the policeman known as the Light of New York? Do you think HYDRA will be afraid of such a small character? Strucker laughed sarcastically. Laura retorted. A man who can hold heavy weapons and make the army chasing me flee is at least more deterrent than you. A bald head. Laura Kinney, your vision is still too narrow. You don't know how to adapt to the times and choose stronger allies and forces. Strucker still has his hands behind his back. Now, the opportunity is in front of you. Forget about that little guy Liu Hao. Compared with our HYDRA organization, he is just an insignificant existence. So, I ask you one last time, are you willing to be one of us? Strucker tried to make a final effort to convince Laura. Laura thought deeply and answered, You really look like fools. Strucker's smile froze, and then he put down his hands. He looked at Laura coldly. Unfortunately, if we can't be friends, we can only be enemies. Now, let you taste the bitter fruit. After that, Baron Strucker turned around, waved goodbye to the glass cell, and left. Then, the entire translucent cell was illuminated by red light, and the sound of mechanical operation echoed in the cell. Then, several tentacle-like mechanical arms suddenly stretched out from the chair where Laura was sitting, but their hands were not hands, but syringes. Countless syringes instantly pierced Laura's skin, and the drug was injected into her body at a speed visible to the naked eye. The pain spread throughout her body, and her thoughts became confused. Then, the chair made a crackling electric current sound, and the next moment, the electric current suddenly rushed into Laura's body, and she screamed in pain. Inside the police station in New York, USA. The only clue in the video is Hawkeye. Finding him will lead to finding the little wolf girl. Liu Hao had to use his trump card, Superman-like physique. Liu Hao's Superman physique has a very high upper limit, but he must bathe in the sun every day to increase his strength. According to the development over the years, his current strength is close to the level of Superman in the Bronze Age in DC Comics. Regardless of other things, just hearing and vision, Liu Hao can now perceive everything in New York, which is about 1/3 of the file size, with the New York Police Department as the center. In a small house in the suburbs of New York, Clint was awakened by the sun. He stretched lazily and habitually reached to the left, but he caught nothing. It seems that his wife has already gotten up. Clint thought he got up late, glanced at the alarm clock on the bedside, but smiled helplessly. It seems that you are abnormal. After walking out of the room, the first thing he heard was the sound of cartoons in the living room, and his sharp eyes caught his daughter playing on the sofa, and then the sizzling sound of frying meat in the kitchen. Clint walked into the kitchen, hugged his wife who was cooking from behind, and couldn't help saying, Mrs. Barton, you don't have to get up early to cook, right? This is the standard housewife's work and rest schedule. You always go out early and come back late. How can you understand it? The wife said without turning her head, with a hint of complaint in her tone. I understand. I'm busy with work recently and don't have time to accompany you and your daughter. Clint put his hands on his wife's shoulders and asked her to turn around and face him. I promise you that I will always accompany you and your daughter in the next few days, and work will not interfere with the time of our family of 3. Okay, I believe you. The wife hugged Clint's neck, kissed him, and then the two hugged. When Clint hugged his wife, his eyes fell on the lawn outside the window. His sharp eyesight immediately caught a figure. Honey, you continue to cook. Clint let go of his wife's hand and told her not to leave the house no matter what happened. What's wrong? The wife was a little confused. Clint replied, There is a guest visiting, and it should be for me. Clint kissed his daughter's forehead, then put on his coat and went out. Liu Hao has been waiting outside the lawn for a long time. You are quite slow. You are Liu Hao, the New York light loved by the public in the New York Police Department, right? Clint looked at Liu Hao in confusion. Is there something you want to talk to me about? Clint Francis Barton, I want to ask you, did you carry out a mission a few days ago? The one about Laura Kinney. Laura Kinney? Clint thought about it and then replied, "Sorry, this is confidential. No comment. I don't care about your so-called confidentiality." Liu Hao expressionless. "I am a New York police officer, and you are suspected of impersonating a staff member of the General Administration and taking away my prisoner. You have to tell me where she is." Chapter 13. The man behind the scenes. Impossible. Our transfer order procedure is legal. In my case, it is not legal. Liu Hao took out a document. "Do you need to take a closer look?" Clint, who has excellent eyesight, saw the contents clearly at a glance. He actually didn't need to see it, because his organization just forged the seal and did not get approval from the General Administration. "I belong to." Before Clint finished speaking, Liu Hao interrupted directly. "I don't ask who you belong to. I only ask where my prisoner is." Clinton remained silent. Liu Hao continued, "Don't you want to talk? Your wife and daughter are in there, right? You don't want to see them get into trouble, do you?" When it comes to family, Clinton's eyes suddenly become sharp. "Are you threatening me with my family?" Liu Hao had a blank expression on his face. "So what if I threaten you? I'm a regular police officer of the New York Police Department. What about you? Are you an illegal organization or a shady gang? Do you know who you arrested?" Liu Hao looked down at Clinton. "That's the person I promised to protect. I don't care how big the power behind you is. Once you touch me, I will make you pay the price." His eyes were like fire about to erupt, and a strong sense of oppression permeated from him, just like the angry dragon in the myth. Clinton was speechless for a moment. Liu Hao continued, "Silence is useless. You are suspected of impersonating a police officer and abusing your power, which constitutes a crime of the Ministry of National Security. As a police officer, I have the right to arrest you." Liu Hao clapped his hands and gave orders to the police officers waiting on the side. SHIELD base. Nick Fury sat in his office, his desk piled with documents, his hands never leaving the mouse and keyboard. The content on the screen was the documents sent to him by SHIELD agents below level 7, roughly estimated to be 2 to 3 digits, which were all part of SHIELD's daily work. Each email recorded a different case. Although carefully written, the content was complex and needed to be screened in a huge amount of text. Fortunately, Nick had long been accustomed to this kind of work intensity. Even with only one eye, it did not affect his ability to filter out unimportant information in the computer. At this time, there was a knock on the door. "Director Nick, this is Natasha Romanoff." Nick stopped the work in his hands, rubbed his one eye, and said, "Come in." After getting permission, the door opened, and a woman in black combat uniform, with long legs, a graceful figure, and curly red hair came in with a document. "You look serious. What happened?" Nick Fury asked. "Clinton is in trouble. The other party is the New York Police Department." Natasha Romanoff stepped forward and put the document about Clinton being taken away by the New York Police Department on the table. Natasha Romanoff and Clinton are good friends. Nick knows this, so Natasha Romanoff is so serious when Clinton is in trouble. Nick picked up the document Natasha Romanoff brought and read it. He realized the seriousness of the matter and immediately frowned. "It's because of this kind of thing. Why are you so surprised?" Natasha Romanoff pointed to a place on the document. "They said Clinton was arrested because he pretended to be the General Administration to transfer prisoners from the New York Police Department. Wasn't this your order?" "I didn't issue such an order. The recent events have given me a headache. How can I have time to go to New York to catch a prisoner?" But the New York Police Department has evidence that Clinton did use a transfer order that was not directly stamped by the Washington General Administration to transfer the prisoners of the New York Police Department. "I saw it. The order was not issued by me, but forging a seal is indeed something S.H.I.E.L.D. can do." Nick answered calmly. Natasha Romanoff then speculated, "If the order was not issued by you and it is related to us, then there is a traitor in S.H.I.E.L.D. Nick narrowed his eyes, then put his hands in front of the computer again and decided to check Clinton's mission records for the past week. After checking, it was found that Clinton did receive an order from S.H.I.E.L.D. 6 days ago. The content was to use the transfer order from the Washington General Administration to transfer a woman named Laura Kinney to the New York Police Department. The so-called transfer order was indeed stamped with a forged seal of S.H.I.E.L.D. However, the person who issued the order was not Nick, but a level 7 agent named Grant Ward. Nick remembered what this person looked like. He was young and a sunny young man. Nick didn't expect that the problem would come from him. Seeing this, Nick frowned. It seems that SHIELD really has a traitor. He hurriedly said, "Send someone to arrest Grant Ward and wait for me to interrogate him personally. No need to send anyone else. Clinton is my best friend. Let me catch the person who framed him." Natasha Romanoff immediately said, "He can't escape. Then leave it to you." Nick Fury stood up, put on his favorite black coat, and prepared to go out. "As for me, I must go to New York to solve this problem in person." New York Police Department. Clinton has been in the interrogation room for 3 hours. During this time, no one came to interrogate him, and no one told him that the matter had been clarified and he could leave. He was a little impatient, but there was no way. He could only sit and wait before Liu Hao, the light of New York who brought him here, issued any instructions. and Liu Hao in the office seemed quite calm, and even had the mood to make tea. Chunlong beside him was even more anxious than him. He had been boiling water for him to make tea for 3 hours, and Liu Hao had never left the office except to go to the toilet. Iron guanine, a famous Chinese tea, tastes good, try it? Liu Hao asked Chunlong indifferently, then picked up the teacup, blew away the heat, and tasted it slowly. Chunlong shook his head and refused, then asked curiously, Brother Liu, we have arrested Clinton who pretended to be the general administration for so long. Why don't we interrogate him? No hurry. Liu Hao put down the teacup, still calm. The people behind him haven't made any moves yet. We just need to wait. The people behind him? Liu Hao's answer made Chunlong even more confused. Who is behind Clinton? Liu Hao sneered, a group of people who can't make any waves. In an agent office at the SHILD base, Grant Ward, who was responsible for executing the orders of the general administration, was packing his luggage and copying confidential intelligence into a USB to take away. While Grant was busy, the computer screen suddenly flickered, and then the image of a man in a black suit and a black chrome mask appeared on the screen. Code 7? Why video call at this time? I have completed the mission and am about to evacuate. Grant asked after seeing the other party. The masked man shook his head slightly and replied calmly. Your identity has been leaked. Nick Fury has sent people to hunt you down. I know, so I am about to leave. Grant said. Chapter 14. Already seeing through everything. Everything has been arranged. Grant continued. Okay. The man in black nodded and asked, where's your destination? Florida. There is a private plane in 3 hours, and the flight information cannot be found. Very good. Pack up and leave as soon as possible. Don't get caught. The man in black reached out to turn off the video, but stopped at the last moment and whispered, HYDRA hail. HYDRA hail. Grant Ward responded. The man in black turned off the video, took off his mask, revealing a head of brown curly hair. Anyone in SHILD would recognize him. He is Nick Fury's most trusted deputy, Alexander Pierce. Then, Pierce dialed the phone, speaking steadily. He is going to Florida, and he will be dealt with when he lands. Got it. The person on the other end of the phone responded. After hanging up the phone, Pierce, who was troubled by these trivial matters, rubbed his temples and couldn't help complaining. Stark is always not careful enough and always makes me clean up the mess. At the New York Police Department, Liu Hao was still sipping tea, looking like he was on vacation, not a police officer who had just captured a suspect. At this time, Officer Chunlong walked in. The door was not closed tightly, and he said, Brother Liu, someone is looking for you outside. A black man wearing a one-eyed mask. Liu Hao seemed to have expected it, and nodded without turning his head. Please let him in. Chunlong conveyed the message, and Nick Fury stepped into Liu Hao's office. It was not until Nick entered that Liu Hao turned his chair to face the director. Nick found that Liu Hao had no fluctuations when he saw him. Not to mention the one-eyed mask. Anyone would be surprised or curious at first glance, but Liu Hao did not, as if he knew his background well. Nick narrowed his eyes slightly, walked forward, and sat down opposite Liu Hao. Hello, Liu Hao. Liu Hao nodded and poured a cup of tea for Nick. Just say it. You want to take Clinton away? Yes, this is all a misunderstanding. Liu Hao raised his hand to interrupt him. There is nothing to say, Clinton Barton. We have confirmed his crime of forging the seal of the general administration and transferring it without authorization. Although he may not know about it or be framed, it is still illegal. As a policeman, it is not too much for me to let him go to jail, right? I think we still have room for negotiation. Nick's expression did not change. Liu Hao's mouth corners slightly raised. Okay, how do you want to talk? You get the information you want. I will take him away. You are dreaming. Liu Hao leaned slightly, staring at Nick Fury sharply. First of all, he did break the law. Liu Hao looked at Nick and stretched out a finger. Liu Hao's eyes were like a sword, and then stretched out a second finger. Secondly, he made me break my promise. In my territory, he took away the woman I promised to protect, and now her life and death are unknown. And you still want me to let him go? Nick was immediately passive. Originally, he came to tell Liu Hao the truth about the SHILD insider in exchange for Clinton's freedom. Unexpectedly, Liu Hao directly raised the bargaining chips, meaning that Nick had to pay enough. You are very good at negotiation. Nick had seen a lot of things, so he was not frightened by Liu Hao's sudden intimidation. He closed his eyes and said calmly, but I have to take him away. Nick held his chin with his hand and continued. You should be more eager to find the woman you promised to protect. Although I don't know where she is, I can tell you the location of SHILD's base. Because the traitor is in the base, I have found out his identity and can tell you. This is the second condition Nick gave. 2 compensations offset 2 mistakes. I think it is fair. So you should also show sincerity. No. Liu Hao looked directly at Nick and said firmly, Clinton must be imprisoned here. No discussion. Negotiation is not like this. Nick lowered his voice. Do you want to tell me the information you need first? And then I don't even have the right to take people away? What about your compromise? Liu Hao said word by word. If you provide the location of the SHILD base and the traitor information, you can reduce his sentence. If the information is correct, Clinton only needs 1 year in prison. Nick and Liu Hao looked at each other for a long time. In the end, Nick responded helplessly, "You win." Nick Fury knew that Liu Hao was furious at the moment, and an angry person could not negotiate rationally. He had to calm Liu Hao's anger first before he had a chance to fight for Clinton. "I can give you the address and the traitor information. After finding him, I will not interfere with how to deal with him, and I will not intervene in the subsequent matters. You can find your woman yourself." Liu Hao did not talk to Nick anymore, but called Chen Long. "Entertain this guest, make him Tiguanyin, and let him leave when he wants to." After leaving that sentence, Liu Hao got into the car, shifted into the 5th gear without hesitation, and drove straight to the SHILD base mentioned by Nick Fury. The vehicle was speeding like an arrow, and any driving expert would not dare to guarantee safety under such road conditions. But for Liu Hao with extraordinary vision, it was just a piece of cake. In fact, Liu Hao could use the flight skill and the super ability to reach SHILD at the speed of sound in an instant, but he did not want to expose his strength. So he chose to use the ability to improve daily transportation. At this moment, Liu Hao has used Superman's vision and hearing to the extreme. At the same time, Grant Ward, whose identity was exposed, had packed his bags. He left SHILD, came to the airport quietly, and boarded the plane. The whole process was seamless, and no one could track his footprints. The moment Grant stepped on the plane, he thought he was free again. However, he overlooked a man, the man who valued honor more than life, Liu Hao. Liu Hao's extraordinary vision had already seen through everything. His eyes suddenly became cold, and he whispered, "No one who offends me can escape unscathed. Even if you hide at the ends of the earth, you can't escape." Liu Hao held the steering wheel firmly with his left hand, and took out a customized special mobile phone from his pocket with his right hand. Unlock the permissions, slide to the bottom, and activate the highest permissions. Switching to satellite mode, he smoothly entered the 9-digit password that popped up, and a line of words immediately appeared on the screen. "The ultimate satellite, God's Eye, at your service." Liu Hao first zoomed in and captured the screen information in the cockpit of the private plane that Ward was riding. After obtaining the flight trajectory and longitude and latitude coordinates of the plane, he quickly operated on the phone and entered all the data. In an instant, Liu Hao's phone rang with a prompt, and a real-time monitoring screen appeared on the screen, as if a pair of eyes peeping from outside the plane. The phone displayed the real-time coordinates of the plane and speculated 3 possible destinations based on the flight path. The possibility of Florida is as high as 97%. Chapter 15 Sniper Rifle. For this moment, Liu Hao mobilized satellite permissions to track the private plane in real time. Yes, the satellite was always monitoring it. At this time, Liu Hao's mobile phone rang, and he answered it while driving. This special mobile phone can only be dialed by 2 people, and Liu Hao had just used this function, so it was self-evident who the caller was. When the call was connected, Arthur was furious on the other end. "Liu Hao, are you crazy? You actually enabled the Eye of God permission." Liu Hao continued to drive without responding, but Arthur couldn't help complaining. "You always get into trouble on a whim. You are happy, but have you ever considered my feelings? It may be a whim at other times, but not this time." Liu Hao spoke. Before Arthur could respond, Liu Hao continued, "Laura Kinney, the woman I rescued 6 days ago. I promised her that I would protect her safety. I made a promise." Arthur had the opportunity to respond, but chose to remain silent, because Liu Hao mentioned the promise. He knew Liu Hao's personality well. He also understood what the promise meant to Liu Hao. "Now, I just need to find that bastard, force out Laura's whereabouts, find her, give her a safe haven, and fulfill my promise." Liu Hao, who was driving, said firmly. A moment later, Arthur's voice came from the other end of the phone. "Okay, I understand." Arthur knew Liu Hao's stubbornness. Otherwise, they would not become friends. After hanging up the phone, Liu Hao stepped on the accelerator, and the speed increased instantly. The roar of the engine was like the enthusiasm in his blood, roaring in waves. Florida. Grant Ward was not in a good mood. A few days ago, HYDRA's boss Baron Strucker sent him to the New York Police Department to find Laura Kinney and bring her to him. Grant thought that such a small matter was not worth going out in person, so he hacked director Nick Fury's computer and forged a transfer order from the Washington headquarters. Then, he pretended to be Nick Fury and ordered Clinton Barton, a subordinate of S.H.I.E.L.D., to handle the matter. The original plan was flawless. Unexpectedly, Clinton Barton, a capable man of SHIELD, was arrested by an ordinary policeman. What's even more bizarre is, just because an agent was arrested, Director Nick Fury was alarmed, causing Grant's identity to be exposed, and he had to flee. Although I had an escape plan in advance, I still feel a little uncomfortable leaving the comfortable and cozy SHIELD base suddenly. Grant left the airport with his bag on his back. However, as soon as he left the airport, Grant noticed something strange about the people around him. As an agent of HYDRA lurking in SHIELD, he has a certain anti-detection ability. What's more, he is now on the run and his nerves are tense. In this state, He soon discovered that there were a few men wearing sunglasses and black suits around him, looking at him from time to time. He might be too sensitive at ordinary times, but at this special moment, it is not the case. The only explanation is that his whereabouts have been leaked. But how is it possible? He obviously didn't tell anyone. Shit. Grant Ward suddenly remembered that he did reveal the destination to someone, the man in black who spoke to him in the name of HYDRA, codenamed 7. The man in black is also a member of HYDRA, which means that Grant has been abandoned by HYDRA. They plan to get rid of Grant before he is caught by SHIELD. Grant never expected such a change. He cursed, picked up his backpack, and ran to a place where there were few people. At this moment, he had no choice but to escape. The agent responsible for dealing with Grant saw this and immediately understood that Grant had seen through their identities. After exchanging glances, he decisively chased after him. Grant shuttled through the forest in the suburbs. Behind him, a team of men in black took out their guns and shot bullets at him like raindrops, passing by him every time. Several bullets penetrated his backpack and dollar bills flew out, but the men in black did not stop chasing him. They had only one goal, Grant's life. Grant's goal was the safe house where he was hiding, where there were all kinds of weapons to give him shelter. As long as he arrived there, he would return to his fortress. As long as he returned to the safe house, all problems would be solved. Unexpectedly, a bullet suddenly hit Grant's calf, and he instantly lost the ability to escape and staggered to the ground. The adrenaline of the escape made him fight against the severe pain. He dragged his injured leg, and the cold feeling continued to invade. Then, another shot hit his right foot, and Grant could not escape at all. At the moment, the footsteps of the chasing black-clad men became slow. They seemed to have stopped chasing and just followed leisurely. Are these guys playing with him? A man in black walked up to Grant, a silenced pistol against his forehead, and looked at his wide eyes coldly. HYDRA hail. Son of a bitch? The gunshot sounded, but it was not the sound of a pistol, but a sniper rifle. It was not Grant who fell, but the man in black with the gun. Are there others? The other men in black were horrified. They didn't expect Grant to have an accomplice. The leading black man immediately shouted, "Find the enemy! Quick!" Before he finished speaking, with a bang, the leading black man's head exploded, and blood splattered all over the ground. Hitting the target with every shot? How could such a skill be achieved? The remaining black men raised their guns and looked around, looking for the enemy, but often fell under the muzzle before they could catch up. The last black man finally found the enemy's position, a man with an Asian face, carrying a sniper rifle on his shoulder. If they had paid attention to the news, they would have recognized him as the legend of New York, sharpshooter Liu Hao. Then, the sniper bullet took away the light of his life. Grant watched all this, and the joy of being rescued disappeared, because he knew that the person with such skill was not here to save him. Grant Ward. Liu Hao carried the sniper rifle and slowly walked towards Grant, who was shot in the calf. I want you to pay the price. 2 hours ago, SHIELD base, Natasha Romanoff, who was about to arrest Grant Ward, looked at the empty office and clenched her fists. Then, she turned on her phone and called Nick Fury. I'm late. Grant has left S.H.I.E.L.D. I can't find him. On the other end of the phone, Nick Fury responded calmly. It doesn't matter. Let him go. Why? Natasha Romanoff was puzzled. Nick has always been a person who never gives in. If we can't find this traitor, we can't find the traitor of SHIELD. This matter is no longer our responsibility. We can't just let it go. Grant caused Clinton to go to jail. He must pay the price. Natasha Romanoff couldn't swallow this breath. Nick Fury said slowly, don't misunderstand. Although I said this matter is not our responsibility, the anger in the hearts of the men chasing Grant is no less than ours. Chapter 16, The Most Terrible State. The man chasing Grant? Natasha Romanoff repeated. Nick answered, the man with anger like a volcano will make him suffer. Now, The shrill screams echoed in the forests of suburban Florida. That was the scream of Grant Ward, and it was Liu Hao who made all this. He saved Grant, but not out of kindness, but to make this beast reveal the information he wanted to know. After Liu Hao dealt with the black-clad men who were chasing Grant, he shot Grant's leg with a pistol and began to ask, where is Laura Kinney? Grant screamed a few times and replied with pain, I don't know what you were talking about. Bang, bang, bang. 3 more shots were shot into his other leg. Grant was in great pain, but still unwilling to speak. Liu Hao definitely would not give up. He squatted down, pulled out a dagger from his tactical boots, and pointed it at Grant's hand. Before Grant could react, the dagger had pierced deeply. At this moment, Grant's palm was pierced and his hand was disabled. Heart-wrenching pain pierced through his brain. Where is Laura Kinney, the woman who was taken away 6 days ago? Liu Hao held Grant's palm with one hand, held the dagger with the other hand, and pulled it hard towards his wrist. Grant's palm was pulled into 2 bloody halves separated by the middle finger. I'll tell you. Stop. Stop. In the end, the pain overcame reason, and Grant compromised. Liu Hao loosened the handle of the knife, did not help him pull out the dagger, and said coldly, "Speak." Grant Ward gritted his teeth and endured the pain. I don't know where Laura Kinney was held by our people, but I remember where they asked me to send her. They asked me to take her to the ECU chemical plant. It's an abandoned old factory located in northern New York. I swear in the name of God that I didn't lie. His oath had no effect on Liu Hao, who looked at him expressionlessly. While Grant was talking, Liu Hao activated the super ability he won in the lottery, including a perspective eye skill. Through this ability, he could see Grant's heartbeat, which usually beats faster than usual when people lie to survive in life-or-death situations. However, Grant Ward's heartbeat remained stable, confirming his honesty, and the information was beyond doubt. "I told you everything," Grant pleaded anxiously. "Please take me to the doctor. I'm dying." "You're a policeman. You won't let me die, right?" "I've already said that." Liu Hao raised his pistol and aimed at the stunned Grant. "I'll make you pay." Before he finished speaking, Liu Hao pulled the trigger without hesitation. With a bang, Grant's life ended without even leaving a last word. ECU chemical plant. Liu Hao repeated the place revealed by Grant, the place where Laura was sent. Then, he left the woods, drove fast, started, shifted gears, and sped at the vehicle's maximum speed. No ordinary person dared to drive like this. But Liu Hao, who had Superman's vision and hearing, was different. He is like a professional racing driver, with his brain and body integrated into one, able to control the direction and accurately judge the road conditions. Nevertheless, Liu Hao's current ability still cannot reach the level of time-transcending metamorphosis of Superman in the Silver Age. He has limitations and can only maximize human potential, but cannot change his fate. After arriving at the ECU chemical plant, Liu Hao used his perspective eyes to scan the area and found that there was no one there. Grant was not lying, which meant that the person was not gone, but had escaped. Liu Hao is always a step slower at every critical moment, and this time he was really angry. He had experienced countless battles, and no matter how strong or weak the enemy was, he could always make them embarrassed. Unexpectedly, the opponent this time was just a waste who could only run away. They dare not confront head-on, and they are usually cowards who run away after getting the news. Liu Hao clenched his fists, and Superman's thermal vision seemed to be able to spray lasers at any time. "HYDRA, you really pissed me off this time." That's right, Liu Hao, who knew the Marvel Universe well, naturally knew that the enemy was the HYDRA organization. He knew that most of the HYDRA members were lurking in S.H.I.E.L.D., and he also knew that they were evil villains and enemies of superheroes. In the past, their actions had nothing to do with Liu Hao, and they did not interfere with each other. Liu Hao was too lazy to pay attention to such organizations. However, this time, HYDRA challenged Liu Hao's bottom line again and again. They are playing their own games, but they are playing tricks on Liu Hao, arresting people in front of him, always giving him a heavy blow before approaching the target, like to manipulate behind the scenes, good at preemptive strikes. Liu Hao will let you know who you have offended. Anger has reached its peak. This is the most terrible state Liu Hao has ever been in. HYDRA, everyone will pay the price. Liu Hao took out his mobile phone and entered Director Arthur's number. A few seconds later, Arthur answered the call. "Liu Hao? Calling at this time. Haven't you solved your problem yet? What help do you need from me? Equipment or manpower?" "No need." Liu Hao lowered his voice. "I just want to talk to one person." Arthur asked, "Who do you want me to transfer? What is his identity and name?" "Former director of SHIELD, Alexander Pierce." In Pierce's office at the SHIELD base. An hour ago, Pierce had just called Strucker and asked him to move the base immediately. Now he was rubbing his temples, thinking about how to deal with the stupid Strucker. At this time, the phone on the desk rang. Pierce saw the unfamiliar number and thought it was someone from HYDRA, so he answered it. "Who is this?" Pierce asked tentatively. "HYDRA hail, Leader Pierce." The mocking tone on the other end of the phone hit Pierce hard. Pierce's face sank and he whispered, "Who are you?" "You know who I am. Don't you think you have control over me?" Liu Hao on the phone spoke in a contemptuous and condescending tone. Pierce immediately understood that the caller was Liu Hao, known as the Light of New York. But he still played dumb. "I don't know what you were talking about. Maybe you dialed the wrong number, or there was some misunderstanding. I don't have time to play dumb with you. I only have one question. Where is my person, Laura Kinney?" "You only have 2 minutes to answer me." Liu Hao asked. "Sorry, this is not a missing persons agency. If you want to find someone, I suggest you call 119 for help." Pierce continued to play dumb. "Don't tell me? Nick Fury is having a headache finding the traitor right now, right?" Liu Hao said coldly. "Do you think I can peel off the disguise of you and the other snakeheads?" Liu Hao asked coldly. Pierce on the other end of the phone fell silent. 1 minute left. Liu Hao started the countdown. Chapter 17 Bullets can't penetrate. Pierce remained silent. 40 seconds. Liu Hao reminded. The technology is very advanced now. The speed of text message transmission should be faster than the speed of your escape from S.H.I.E.L.D., right? 20 seconds. Liu Hao's tone became fierce. 10, 9, 8. Stop. A low voice came from the other end of the phone. Although I really don't know what you were talking about. But I heard you were talking about Laura Kinney. I checked the information and found that she has been transferred from the ECU chemical plant in New York to an abandoned building outside the city. Where's the location? Liu Hao asked. A corner of South Texas. Liu Hao immediately drove straight to the destination. When the phone was hung up, he left a warning. If I arrive and find that the person is missing, you will know what a raging storm is. Texas. Before Liu Hao found the ECU chemical plant in northern New York, the little wolf girl Laura had been transferred to a new secret base by Baron Strucker, who received the news. At first, Strucker did not take Liu Hao seriously, but the warning from his boss Pierce made him unable to ignore it. Pierce warned Strucker not to take risks with Laura Kinney, a precious experimental subject, and to avoid a direct confrontation with Liu Hao. So Strucker had to do as he was told and transferred X-23, that is, Laura Kinney. However, deep down, he still looked down on Liu Hao, a small figure. This time the base was no longer located in New York, but in a corner of Texas. For Strucker, transferring Laura was just a small matter. HYDRA's bases were spread all over the United States and even abroad. They were well organized and the transfer was easy. This was the safe haven selected by Pierce himself. It looked like an ordinary abandoned building on the outside, but it was actually a fortress armed to the teeth. In terms of attack, bombs and penetrations, and automatic machine guns on the walls were ready. In terms of defense, the door was made of titanium alloy, the base was surrounded by mines, and the tunnel leading to the base was equipped with venomous laser infrared rays. Not to mention people, even birds would die instantly if they strayed in. Even if Liu Hao could find this place, he couldn't step through the door, let alone rescue the hostages among HYDRA's top agents. In Baron Strucker's eyes, this place is an impregnable castle. Liu Hao is just an ordinary policeman with outstanding shooting skills. Even if he finds this place, it is a daydream to break through this absolute defense line. Weapon upgrade completed, ready for use at any time. An agent reported, as if adding strength to Strucker's wings. Strucker nodded. Put it into use. HYDRA members were busy, and Strucker watched Laura Kinney being sent to a new titanium alloy cage equipped with a gravity system. No matter how strong the body is, people imprisoned here will be exhausted and unable to resist. But this Liu Hao actually tracked down our base for X-23. It seems that you are of great value. Strucker stood outside the cage and whispered to Laura. Although it is a pity to lose the base, with Laura Kinney, the new Wolverine in hand, we can achieve more scientific research results. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, the base shook violently, and then a huge sound like a sonic boom came from outside, and everyone in the base fell into panic. What made them panic was not the loudness of the sound, but that they could not tell what it was. It was neither a missile nor a tank, but it brought a strong tremor. Stark's heart moved. At the moment there was trouble. Could it really be Liu Hao? Regardless of whether it was him or not, the intruder must not return. Strucker grabbed a fully armed member and said in a deep voice, "Take someone to check the situation. If you encounter an intruder, kill him without mercy." "Yes, Baron Strucker." The agent agreed, and then called the others to go outside the base together. The team consisted of more than a dozen agents. The entrance to the base was a dark tunnel. They held submachine guns and wore night vision goggles and kept moving forward. Even though the tunnel was dark, the agents had night vision equipment and should have an advantage, while the enemy was in the dark. However, during the march, all the agents felt fear at the same time. Like moths to a flame, knowing the danger, but getting closer and closer. This is a powerful biological field, called the absolute field, which gave the agents' bodies a strong warning. Don't move forward, otherwise, your life will end here. But when they realized all this, it was too late. Boom. One side of the tunnel exploded instantly, rubble splashed, and a tall and mighty figure appeared in the dark tunnel. The agents looked at him together. In night vision mode, they saw the man clearly. Superman? The agents were confused, but what they saw was not a superhero cosplay, because he was floating in the air. His muscular body outlined by the tights looked like a real Superman, like a god. Shoot. Shoot. Shoot quickly. An agent first realized the seriousness of the situation and hurriedly ordered everyone to shoot, but he did not fully realize the seriousness. Bang, bang, bang. Countless bullets were fired at the god in midair, but the terrifying thing was that every bullet that touched his body, including the red and blue battle suit, was instantly crushed to the ground. The bullets could not penetrate him. Really? Really indestructible Superman? How is this possible? The agents could not accept the facts in front of them, because this was beyond their cognition. The superhero in the comics was floating in front of them alive at this moment, and this kind of impact was unbearable for anyone. The agents' thoughts stopped instantly, and the only thing they could do was to pour bullets at the man frantically, as if doing so could exchange for a glimmer of hope for survival. However, everything was in vain. Once Liu Hao used his secret weapon, put on the Superman battle robe, and turned on the super ability mode, the result was self-evident. He became an invincible existence. In the dense rain of bullets, Liu Hao moved slowly in the air with a mighty figure, gradually approaching the terrified agents. He let them use all their strength, not caring at all, just quietly approaching, feeling the extreme panic of the enemy in front of him. Just like a leisurely lion king slowly walking towards the helpless flock of sheep. Although the flock of sheep struggled to resist, what threat did the sheep's horns pose to the lion? Ah! An agent collapsed as Liu Hao expected, dropped his weapon, and fled without hesitation. This was the wisest choice in his life. The other agents who reacted a little slower followed suit. Everyone understood that facing an impenetrable shield, no matter how fierce the attack was, it would be futile. Liu Hao witnessed their embarrassed escape, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He leaned slightly, and then, he suddenly accelerated while suspended in the air, instantly surpassing the speed of sound, and rushed straight to the fleeing soldiers. The sense of oppression was like a super bomb falling from the sky. The sonic boom sounded again, and a series of loud noises shocked people. Chapter 18 Massacre. Liu Hao hit the agents with his body, and none of them was spared. Blood splattered and turned into a pool of meat paste. It turned out that the loud noise just now was the sonic boom caused by Liu Hao's supersonic flight. The Tesla headquarters also felt the impact. Obviously, someone launched an attack. But what kind of weapon can make such a sound? Soon, the answer was revealed. The large screen in the center of the base showed the surveillance footage of the gate. In the dark tunnel, a figure suddenly flashed like a screen failure. It was a man wearing a red and blue tights, with a big S logo on his chest, a strong body, but the head was the image of an ordinary man with glasses. This King. Is it Superman in the comics? Stark muttered in surprise. Stark definitely couldn't recognize that this was Liu Hao, because the glasses were Superman glasses given by the system. Just like the effect in the Superman movie, anyone who wears it will become unrecognizable and no one can recognize it. Stark didn't know who he was, he only knew that this was a guy who cosplayed Superman in the middle of the night. But even so, he knew that this guy was not simple. Superman Liu Hao slowly walked towards the gate, and then, like visiting a friend's house, he stretched out his right hand and gently knocked on the heavy titanium alloy door 3 times with the middle finger joint. Bang! The first impact was like a train at a speed of 400 kilometers per hour. Bang! The second time, the force was heavier. This time it was no longer a train, but more like a ship encountering a Category 10 hurricane. The whole base was shaking. Bang! The third time, the titanium alloy door was covered with huge cracks, spreading from the knocking point to the edge. Stark's eyes widened. He panicked. He didn't have time to delve into the scientific principles, nor did he have time to think about why the comic plot became a reality. He could only try to fight against this Superman who was hard to tell whether he was real or fake, and do his best to stop him. So he hurriedly ordered, activate Level 20 Defense. Level 20 Defense, a level that will only be activated when a natural disaster strikes. This means that even if an earthquake, tsunami, or volcanic eruption hits at the same time, the gate of the base can still stand. Following Strucker's order, a red alarm sounded in the base, and the gates fell one after another. One represents 2 levels, a total of 10 titanium alloy gates. But this is not over yet. Countless machine gun systems around the base surrounded Liu Hao from all directions and then opened fire. Strucker looked at the screen. Liu Hao was shot by machine guns, but he didn't bleed. Superman has a body harder than bullets. Is this guy also? Before Strucker finished speaking, he saw the man on the screen. Not only did he not die, bleed, or get injured, but he also raised his right fist slightly. The next moment, he accelerated and punched out. Speed is power. Under the sonic boom, the machine gun shattered. The continuous combination punches that followed not only destroyed the machine gun, but also destroyed the surveillance. Barehanded, punch by punch, the screen flickered, and Strucker lost the trace of Liu Hao. Then, there was a loud bang. The sound of shattering came. Stark had a bad feeling. Boom. Another strong impact and shattering sound. The force was the same as the previous 3 impacts. The only difference was that the vibration this time was the superposition of the previous 3. That's right. It was Liu Hao who was banging on the door. Knocking on the door was just the beginning. At this moment, Liu Hao really showed his strength. He threw a serious punch. The titanium alloy door shattered instantly, leaving only fragments. Boom, boom, boom. Liu Hao did not slow down or stop. The violent collision made the earth tremble. 1 punch hit a door. 9 punches broke it 9 times. He kicked the last door open. Boom. The broken door turned into rubble and flew into the base, and everyone was panicked. Strucker, who was inside the base, was even more panicked, because Liu Hao had already come to the periphery of the base. There were not so many doors as barriers here. What does this mean? It means that he has come to the living room, and he is only 1 step away from entering your bedroom. Fire! Fire! Pour all the firepower out. Strucker shouted hysterically. He believed that there would always be a weapon that could penetrate him. The agents on the outermost layer of the base received the order and took action one after another. Bullets rained down wildly. These agents were all elite. Although they could not have zero-error shooting skills like Liu Hao, but they were top-notch in terms of gun mastery and killing skills. Bang, 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 bang. The base was filled with the roar of various guns and cannons, and each bullet was aimed directly at Liu Hao's vital points, or in other words, the fatal points of ordinary people. The agents had a variety of weapons, including submachine guns, pistols, sniper rifles, machine guns, and rocket launchers. However, all efforts were in vain. Chest, abdomen, back, head. This man, there was no place on his body that could be penetrated by bullets. Despair gradually enveloped everyone. Stark ordered, use armor-piercing bullets. Armor-piercing bullets can even shatter the armor of tanks. I don't believe that I can't deal with him. Stark still had the last fantasy of survival. However, Liu Hao proved that he could easily catch and smash rockets, let alone armor-piercing bullets. The flames of the rocket explosion dissipated around Liu Hao. Those flames that claimed to be able to devour everything were just a speck of dust in his eyes, blowing away without leaving a trace. Impossible. Impossible. How could this be? At this moment, Liu Hao was in the form of Superman, and Superman is the god of the world. Facing the artillery fire, Liu Hao slowly moved forward in the air. He looked down at the mortals below and said, "It's useless." Liu Hao's words sounded like the whispers of a demon from the abyss of hell, sentencing everyone present to their fate. I will make you, everyone, pay the price. Liu Hao accelerated and flew. Sonic boom punch. A big hole instantly blasted out of the area hit. But he did not stop and accelerated again, with a series of combination punches like an engine that never stops. Stark slumped to the ground, his eyes wide open. He witnessed all this with his own eyes, witnessing the slaughter of mortals by gods. Then, looking at him, he walked towards the titanium alloy door inside. At this moment, Liu Hao and Stark were only separated by a door. Liu Hao kicked the door to pieces. Stark was not to be outdone, and pressed the button in his hand. In an instant, huge amounts of explosions engulfed Liu Hao. This explosion was comparable to a small nuclear bomb. Stark himself hid in the prison where Laura Kinney was imprisoned to avoid being affected. Because Laura's prison was just able to resist. The newly developed small nuclear bomb should be able to kill him. Strucker murmured, with doubt in his tone. This is the weapon that HYDRA used to destroy the city. If he and Laura had not had strong protection, no one in this base would have survived. However, in this situation, Liu Hao, still floating in the air. Superman, who can't be hurt by real nuclear bombs. What's the use of small nuclear bombs? Chapter 19. Is this Superman? Damn, how is this possible? Liu Hao looked down at Stark, flew to Laura's prison door, grabbed it with both hands, and tore a human-shaped crack like tearing open a package. He came to Stark's side, and the pressure instantly made him collapse. Liu Hao squatted down, looked at him and said, "Dizziness is normal, it will happen soon." Liu Hao said, and gently placed his palm on the trembling Stark's head. His palm was the most terrifying weapon in the world. Ah! Stark finally screamed in pain, and then Liu Hao exerted a little force in his hand, and the result was self-evident, blood splattered. A few minutes later, Laura woke up in the box, and she found that the door of the box she was in had been distorted shape-shifting, and there was a pile of blood and flesh debris scattered on the ground. In doubt, Laura saw a huge amount of figures appear, and Liu Hao smiled warmly at her. "Hello, Laura." Liu Hao was wearing Superman glasses that could conceal his identity, so Laura failed to recognize him. Laura's claws stretched out from her palm instantly. Although the cage restricted her power, she still looked at Liu Hao vigilantly. "Who are you? A comic fan obsessed with Superman?" Laura asked. Liu Hao raised his mouth slightly and said, "My identity is not important. What's important is that I was sent by Liu Hao. He has been looking for you." Laura's eyes were still doubtful until she saw the scene outside the door through the crack of the door. There were corpses everywhere and blood flowing like a river. No matter who Liu Hao's people are, at least this guy did kill all the HYDRA people and should not harm her. Moreover, one point is very critical. This guy, like Liu Hao, gives people a strong sense of oppression. Let's go. If you don't believe me, follow me. If you find something wrong, you can run away at any time. Liu Hao knew the personality of the little wolf girl very well. After leaving this sentence, he left without looking back. Laura was stunned. How could this guy speak in the same mold as Liu Hao? After walking out of the cage, Laura was surprised to find that the outside of the prison was already bumpy and full of corpses. It seemed like two worlds inside and outside the prison. "Are you scared?" Liu Hao asked. Laura shrugged. "I've been living in the midst of killing since I can remember." So, the two people who were used to life and death walked through the group of corpses and left this place. And just as they left, on the floor, In a corner outside the explosion range of the small nuclear bomb, a sensor emitted a red light and aimed at Liu Hao. At the same time, in an unmanned base, the super screen was frozen with the picture of Liu Hao and the little wolf girl. Then, a strange scene happened. The unmanned screen suddenly flickered, and then letters appeared one by one in the center of the screen, and finally formed two words, Superman interesting. The next day, the location of the abandoned building was no longer the best protected base of HYDRA in the past. Instead, it turned into a ruin. HYDRA's reconnaissance team, commanded by Pierce, was searching the area with all their strength, hoping to find any usable technological equipment or research results. However, their discovery disappointed Rhoda extremely. The skyscrapers of the base had become ruins due to the fierce battle underground, and the underground facilities had long been penetrated. There were craters and scattered debris left by the explosion everywhere, like a garbage dump, filled with a disgusting stench. The bodies were scattered all over the place, none of them intact. Those who could keep their faces intact were lucky, not to mention those with all their limbs intact. Some bodies were separated, with the upper body still in place and the lower body appearing in a pit several meters away. These tragic scenes made people wonder what kind of force caused such devastating damage. However, there were still items that survived the disaster. For example, the cage that was originally used to imprison the little wolf girl X-23 still stood tall, fearless of wind and rain. The cage was indestructible, even microbombs could not destroy it. But now, there were two more human-shaped cracks torn by unknown weapons on it, which seemed a bit inconsistent. Liu Hao, did he really have the ability to cause all this? Pierce whispered to himself, unbelievable. Since the HYDRA agent led by Grant Ward was eliminated, Pierce knew that Liu Hao had found Grant first. According to Grant's personality, as long as Liu Hao tortured him a little, he would tell everything. Therefore, Pierce contacted the careless Strucker in advance and asked him to move the base so that the little wolf girl Laura Kinney would not be in danger. However, as soon as the call was hung up, Liu Hao's call came one after another. Not only could he contact Pierce, but he also knew Pierce's identity as the leader of HYDRA and even threatened to expose other HYDRA members in S.H.I.E.L.D., which made Pierce begin to be wary of him. Liu Hao began to ask about the location of the new base, and Pierce waited again and again, and still told him. Because the new base is the place with the most complete defense system and weapons in the United States. Not to mention Liu Hao alone, even if the entire New York Police Department was dispatched, it would be difficult to escape unscathed. However, after telling Liu Hao the address, Pierce could no longer contact Strucker. So he gathered people to investigate the situation here. Chief. An agent walked up to Pierce with a tablet and Bluetooth headphones. It's Dr. Zola. Pierce took the equipment. The screen was dark, but when he put on his headphones and picked up the computer, letters began to tick on the screen, forming a sentence. Superman, Liu Hao's ally. You mean, in addition to Liu Hao, there is also a Superman from the Hero comics who destroyed our base? Pierce said this, feeling as if he was joking. He knew Zola would not joke at this time, but he couldn't help questioning when he heard the words involving comic characters. Sure enough, after Pierce asked the question, the tablet in his hand flashed, and then a video was displayed. In the video, a figure wearing a cape, a red and blue tights, a big S logo on his chest, and glasses was suspended in the air. It was the image of Superman. He resisted all kinds of artillery fire and rushed into the base. This Superman was unstoppable and harvested lives like mowing grass. Then, he came to Strucker, gently touched Strucker's head, and finally crushed it with force. Characters and abilities that only exist in comics, how could it be possible? Pierce is not only afraid of Superman appearing in reality, but more importantly, this Superman is completely different from the glorious and righteous image in the comics. He is a Superman who kills people, which is the most terrifying. In the comics, moral constraints make such aliens become respected superheroes, but what if these settings are removed and put into reality? Just imagining it is enough to make people shudder. After the video ended, a line of words appeared on the tablet. We have provoked an enemy that we cannot afford to provoke. I'm not talking about Superman, but the policeman named Liu Hao. Chapter 20 New York Police Department. Pierce responded calmly, then tell me, what is your plan? The entry point is still Liu Hao, not Superman. Dr. Zola typed slowly on the screen. No matter how powerful his super friend is, as long as Liu Hao is eliminated, the problem can be solved. What about his super friend? Pierce asked. This guy destroyed our base without any damage. Who knows what his friend will do after his death? Before uploading his consciousness to the internet, I read DC Comics. So, I know as well as everyone who has read comics that Superman has weaknesses. Dr. Zola continued to write. In short, the appearance of Superman in the real world means that there are other things. For example, Superman's most fatal weakness, kryptonite. I can use the global network to help you locate the places on the Earth where kryptonite may appear. Finding it is your mission. In short, my plan is to find kryptonite first, prepare to fight Superman, and at the same time get rid of the policeman named Liu Hao. Pierce pondered for a moment. It is easy to make a plan, but many realistic factors must be considered in execution. After careful consideration, he nodded and said, "Then do as you say." Pierce turned around and told a high-level HYDRA member to convey the order and let him pass it on to the lower-level agents. From now on, all agents stop their current work and make finding kryptonite and eliminating Liu Hao their top priority, codenamed Superkiller. Inside S.H.I.E.L.D., Director Nick Fury held the autopsy report of undercover Grant Ward tightly in his hand. The words between the lines revealed the cruel fact. The direct cause of death caused by the gunshot was that the bullet penetrated his brain. In addition, the remains of other agents were found at the scene in the Florida forest. They were also well-trained and had fatal gunshot wounds. Nick knew that this was because after Ward was exposed, his organization abandoned him without hesitation and sent a killer to end his life. However, an unexpected variable appeared: Liu Hao, who broke all this. This kid's shooting skills are really amazingly accurate. Nick couldn't help but admire Liu Hao. No one has ever perfectly interpreted hitting the target every time, because any attack may go wrong, and once it is inaccurate, it cannot be truly achieved. And Liu Hao may be the first true marksman in history. The autopsy report clearly shows this. Except for the inner ghost Grant, all decedents had only one bullet hole, and all of them were fatal. His shooting accuracy is astonishing, and the diameter and depth of the wounds at the same position on different human bodies are almost the same. This means that even if there are errors, the deviation of each shot of Liu Hao will not exceed the range that can be detected by the naked eye. How terrible is this shooting skill? Even facing a stationary target, there are no more than 5 people in S.H.I.E.L.D. who can match it. What's more, Liu Hao is dealing with moving targets. Grant had many wounds, and he may have been injured by the killers sent by the organization before he was killed. He may have resisted for a while, forcing Liu Hao to use means during the interrogation. Natasha Romanoff stood opposite Nick and couldn't help saying, "Although the traitor is dead, Clinton has been in jail for a year. I can't swallow this breath. I understand your feelings, but we shouldn't put all the blame on Liu Hao. After all, to some extent, the problem does lie with us S.H.I.E.L.D. Don't worry, Clinton will not suffer in vain. His experience has alerted me." Nick turned his office chair and looked at the busy agents outside the window. He narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "Tell me, how many traitors are lurking inside S.H.I.E.L.D.? Natasha Romanoff followed his gaze, was silent for a moment, and then shook her head. "To be honest, I can't see it." Nick supported his chin with both hands and said slowly, "You and Clinton are the people I trust the most. Now Clinton has been arrested, and you are the only one left. I even suspect." Nick looked Natasha Romanoff in the eye and said seriously, "The entire S.H.I.E.L.D. may have been infiltrated by traitors. How can I help you?" Natasha Romanoff asked. "It's time to clean up the mess." Nick sat up straight. "My plan is New York Police Department." Beep, beep, beep. Liu Hao was watching an American TV series in his office when he was interrupted by the ringing of his cell phone. Seeing the caller ID, he was not in a hurry, but answered the phone slowly. "Hello, do you want to order takeout?" Liu Hao joked after answering the phone. Arthur on the other end of the phone responded seriously, "Stop it, I have something to talk to you about." "Ask, hurry up, I'm watching the exciting part, and your call interrupted the plot." Liu Hao complained slightly. "If I delay any longer, I can't guarantee whether I will use my head or my lower body to think when I talk to you later." Liu Hao joked. Arthur got straight to the point. "That day about Superman?" "Yeah." Liu Hao responded. "Is this the explanation you want to give me?" Arthur couldn't help but complain. "Don't you already know that it's Superman? What else do you want me to say?" Liu Hao asked back. "Talk about his steel body, super flight, and supervision? Wouldn't it be nice to buy a DC comic? Or should I buy you one?" Liu Hao said casually. Arthur really wanted to slap Liu Hao across the phone. He was his boss after all, and he should at least respect this guy a little. But he suppressed his anger and tried to say calmly, "I'm not asking about these trivial matters. I want to know why the Superman in the comics appeared in reality." Arthur continued to ask, "What is your relationship with him? What can you let him do for you? If he loses control, do you have the ability to stop him? You ask too many questions." Liu Hao yawned. "Dude, do you know what character we are talking about? According to the comic book setting, once this guy is angry, he can swing the earth as a dumbbell." Arthur raised his voice. "We are just insignificant to him. If we don't know his background, not only Americans, but the whole world will live in fear." Okay. Although Liu Hao was still careless, he finally spoke, which made Arthur relieved. "Superman in your mouth is my friend. I will only tell you this. Didn't you understand what I said just now?" Arthur asked. "I understand, but he is my good friend. Unless he is willing to say these questions, I have no way of knowing." Liu Hao explained. "Really don't know anything?" Arthur confirmed again. "Definitely, Superman and I are just friends. He is a low-key person. He likes to wear glasses and blend into the crowd. Sometimes I can't recognize him." Liu Hao replied. Then how do you convince him to help you deal with the enemy? Arthur asked. Chapter 21. The First Broken Appointment. I told you, we are friends. Liu Hao calmly responded to Arthur's question. That day, Arthur was so annoyed that he could not find Laura Kinney, so he had to turn to his secret ally for help. The price was that he owed him a favor and had to repay him with a banquet in the future. Liu Hao seemed to have anticipated Arthur's next question and spoke first. Don't expect me to help you find him to solve the war problem. He is not interested in military intervention. His daily hobbies are to help kittens trapped in the treetops down and other trivial things. Arthur pondered for a moment on the other end of the phone and said, You really don't want to reveal any substantive information? Liu Hao responded helplessly. It's just that I don't know much. After all, I'm just a small character. Otherwise, I would have gone to save the world with my allies. Arthur realized that he could not get more information from Liu Hao, so he had to hang up the phone. Before leaving, he did not forget to remind him. Don't cause me any more trouble recently. There is an old Chinese saying, I won't offend others if they don't offend me. I will explain it to you in detail one day. Arthur knew Liu Hao's character well and knew that it was useless to say more. He ended the call after leaving a graceful goodbye. Liu Hao put down the phone and stopped watching the TV series because Laura had already walked into his office. She always had a blank expression on her face, making it impossible to guess her emotions. Instead, Liu Hao asked with a smile, How is your recovery? Although the little wolf girl looked indifferent, her emotional intelligence did not decrease in the face of Liu Hao's concern. She just shrugged and replied, The injury was not serious to begin with. But I'm curious. You said they arrested you to get you to join HYDRA? Then why don't you join? Liu Hao asked. Laura was stunned for a moment and replied, If you don't want to join, what reason do you need? HYDRA is powerful and well-paid. After joining, you can be free from the army's pursuit. Why not? Liu Hao continued to ask. I don't like places with strict hierarchy. I yearn for freedom. Laura still spoke in a flat tone. So you would rather endure their torture than join them? This reason is not sufficient. Liu Hao looked at her with interest. You and I are on the same front. If you join HYDRA, you have to kill me. Who knows about it? I can't do it. Laura said. Little wolf girl, are you attracted to me? Let me make it clear first. I already have a wife, and your underdeveloped figure is far inferior to my wife Wanda. Liu Hao joked. HYDRA is interested in my super ability. Laura ignored Liu Hao's teasing and said, I didn't betray you because I value promises just like you. Before I was arrested, we had an agreement that I would not use super abilities and you would guarantee my safety. This was a tacit understanding between us. I would not break my promise, so I ignored them. Liu Hao raised his eyebrows. What if I can't rescue you from HYDRA and can't fulfill our agreement? I believe you can fulfill it. Laura shrugged and replied, I admit that I was gambling, but I won because the goddess of fate is always on my side. Liu Hao was silent for a while and said, I didn't meet your expectations because I couldn't stop HYDRA from taking you away. This is the first time in my life that I, Liu Hao, have broken an appointment. Without waiting for Laura to respond, Liu Hao continued, So, from now on, I will release your freedom and you don't have to stay in prison anymore. Laura confirmed Liu Hao's words. Are you really willing to give me freedom? That would be equivalent to letting me, a super ability, go free. People with super abilities can move freely in society? Are you sure? What do I have to worry about? It's just a piece of cake to give you freedom. But what I mean is that you can't use super abilities at will. In New York, you still need to abide by the law. Liu Hao replied, As long as you abide by the law, I will not interfere with your life anymore. Laura was silent for a while and asked, Do you have such great power? Definitely, I know a lot of people, so letting one person go is nothing. Liu Hao smiled and said, Isn't the Superman friend who saved you also my good brother? Speaking of Superman, Laura also had questions to ask, so she spoke directly. Is that guy really the Superman who walked out of the comics? I can't tell you where he came from. Liu Hao said, What you can know is that he is not the Superman in your memory, but the degree of danger is no less. If you don't want to say it, I won't ask more. Laura ended the topic at the right time. However, the mystery of you is really hard to describe. I really can't guess you. You may be the most mysterious person I have ever met in my life. I have heard too much praise. People in the police station are praising me all the time. If you don't need one, don't join them. Liu Hao waved and said, You are free now. Laura ended the conversation with Liu Hao and left the office. Liu Hao was worried that she would have a hard time without US dollars in New York and might go on the road of breaking the law in the long run, so she arranged for a friend to help her find a job. After all, Liu Hao is a New Yorkite that is deeply loved by New York citizens, and it is easy for him to find someone to do things. I don't know how this poor child who grew up in the laboratory will start a new life after returning to normal society. Liu Hao murmured to himself. Liu Hao's concern for Laura ends here. As he said, he is not full of justice, and everything he does for Laura comes from his promise. The difference between the two is that his starting point is not others, but himself. If he wants, he can completely destroy New York in the form of Superman, and no one can stop him, just like Homelander in The Boys. The difference is that Liu Hao is much better than Homelander. He does not intend to bloodbath New York, because doing so is not fun for Liu Hao at all, and New York citizens are lucky to be at ease in this turmoil. The clock rang the bell for getting off work, and Liu Hao, who was busy all day, was finally able to embark on his journey home. Dear, welcome back. As soon as the door was opened, Wanda, who had been away for many days, suddenly jumped out from behind, wrapped her arms around Liu Hao's neck, and gently kissed him on the cheek. Liu Hao instinctively wanted to fight back, but when he saw that it was Wanda, he immediately withdrew his strength and picked her up like a gentleman. It turned out to be a little sweetheart. Hey, be careful, little tiger. Wanda was held in Liu Hao's arms and playfully tapped his nose, smiling. I haven't eaten yet, and you are so energetic? I was exhausted, but when I saw you, I was full of blood and… Liu Hao smiled and looked up and down at Wanda's dress. To be honest, this reporter's dress of white shirt, black skirt, and black framed glasses, which she didn't change when she went home, is it a little trick to add interest to the couple? Wanda sniffed playfully and smiled. So, is it effective? The effect is remarkable. Liu Hao was excited and threw Wanda to the sofa. Chapter 22 Victoria. Hearing her excited scream, Liu Hao began to unbuckle his belt. Hey, little tiger, it's dinner. Wanda reminded with a smile. Eat later. Liu Hao, like a beast, feasted on Wanda, who had been out for many days, and both of them were intoxicated with extreme pleasure. The following days were a sweet life between Liu Hao and his wife Wanda. As for how sweet it was, at least 1/3 of the time was spent in bed every day. Liu Hao has the physique of Superman. Superman is not only as hard as steel, but also has endurance that ordinary people cannot match, otherwise he would not be able to race with the Flash many times in DC Comics. Wanda also found it difficult to bear Liu Hao's enthusiasm at first. However, this taste only makes people more addicted. Gradually, Wanda also began to adapt to Liu Hao's rhythm and experience the happiness of Superman's girlfriend Louise in the comics. The harmony between husband and wife made Liu Hao energetic at work and handled trivial matters for several days. One day, on the way home from get off work, Liu Hao suddenly felt something strange when he walked across the sidewalk and turned back suddenly. Just as Liu Hao turned his head, a man wearing a black baseball cap quickly turned sideways at a traffic light not far away, with his back to Liu Hao. Liu Hao raised his lips. How dare you hit me? As a policeman who has been in disaster-prone New York for many years, Liu Hao's anti-reconnaissance ability is the best among his peers. To deal with such a small stalker, Liu Hao confined his position with his eyes closed. The suspected stalker can only hide temporarily, but when he turned his head again, Liu Hao had disappeared. Was he discovered? The stalker couldn't help but wonder. Liu Hao was offered a reward of $500,000 by the mainland hotel, and he must not let the prey slip away easily. The killer looked around, trying to find Liu Hao in the crowd with his sharp eyes. But he didn't realize that he had fallen into Liu Hao's sight. The next moment, bang! A gunshot rang out, and the killer fell to the ground. Murder! Murder? Passers-by panicked. Liu Hao blew away the smoke from the muzzle leisurely and walked out of the crowd. He called his subordinate Chen Long on the intercom while comforting the frightened onlookers. Don't worry, this is the police on duty. Liu Hao walked to the body and turned over his belt. Sure enough, there was a silenced pistol hanging on it. Combined with his outfit, it is not difficult to see that this is the standard equipment of the killer. Oh my god, it's Asgardian Liu Hao from New York. Someone in the crowd recognized his appearance. Shit, I didn't expect to see you in New York in this life. Uncle Liu Hao, can you give me an autograph? I want to take it back to show off to my classmates. Mr. Liu Hao, my son has been rescued by you. Please accept my insignificant thanks. The scene became more chaotic for a while. And this is exactly what Liu Hao expected. He met the requirements of every fan like a star. When his younger brother Chen Long brought the police to deal with the body and the crime scene, people were surprised to find that Liu Hao had disappeared without a trace. Liu Hao walked on the quiet path, thinking to himself, there are definitely more than one person who dares to kill me, and I can't stay in a public place anymore. If there is more than one killer, they plan to sacrifice several and then reap the benefits. Liu Hao will become a sitting duck if he stays there. In fact, Liu Hao already has Superman's steel body. Even if he faces bullets, the damage he suffers may not be as painful as a mosquito bite. But he doesn't want to expose his super ability to the world. This is why he didn't tell Arthur and the little wolf girl that he is Superman. Otherwise, it will only cause panic and unnecessary trouble. I need to solve all this with mortal methods, Liu Hao thought. As he walked, Liu Hao's shoulder was hit by someone. His body was indestructible, so he would not move due to the collision. Instead, the person who hit him was thrown back by the rebound force. Liu Hao subconsciously reached out and hugged the person who hit him. She was a tall and beautiful woman wearing a black tights and had a graceful figure. Being hugged by Liu Hao, her delicate face like a Barbie doll pressed against him. Obviously with a hint of embarrassment, she still smiled and joked to Liu Hao, "Oh, thanks to you. Otherwise, I might really reunite with my deceased husband. You're welcome. It's hard for a gentleman like me to avoid heartache when a beautiful lady like you falls. Liu Hao raised the corner of his mouth and helped her stand up. When she stood up, the woman's graceful figure was in full view. Her height was almost the same as Liu Hao's. The proud figure unique to Western women was amazing. Thank you. It's been a long time since anyone has praised me. You're the first one in at least half a year. Hee. My name is Victoria, and yours? The woman stretched out her hand to Liu Hao. Liu Hao felt her fiery gaze, and her intention was self-evident. He smiled back and stretched out his hand to respond. My name is Liu Hao. Oh my God, is it really you? You are Liu Hao? Victoria covered her mouth in surprise. I've heard of you. What did they call you? New York Star. Right. They are exaggerating. I'm just an ordinary policeman. Liu Hao waved his hand to deny. Many people only see the surface and ignore my inner self. Then, can I see your inner self? Victoria suddenly teased. Liu Hao raised the corner of his mouth and met Victoria's gaze. Why not? After 10 o'clock, Victoria's residence. From the door to the living room, then to the bedroom, and finally the two jumped onto the bed. Just as Liu Hao was about to take further action, Victoria suddenly pulled out a hand. Her fingers touched a hairpin on the head of the bed. The next second, the hairpin stabbed Liu Hao's back of the head. Snap! The hairpin missed and was firmly grasped by Liu Hao. Liu Hao looked at Victoria with evil eyes. Victoria obviously had not recovered yet and was pinned down on the bed by Liu Hao, unable to move. She could only ask, why did you? Liu Hao shrugged. You are too purposeful. Anyone with a little insight can guess it. Remember this next time. Did you see my purpose from the beginning? Victoria asked. Yes. Liu Hao nodded indifferently. Victoria continued to ask, then why did you come here with me when you knew I was going to kill you? And why did you keep cooperating with me in acting? Liu Hao approached Victoria's face, less than 5 centimeters apart, and he said, because I want to have some fun. Victoria's eyes showed fear. This guy, does he want to make a real play? Don't tease me. You have a wife. You won't do this. Don't get me wrong. Before Victoria finished her words, she was interrupted by Liu Hao, who continued, you don't think I'm infatuated, do you? I'm telling you, you look quite suitable for me. Victoria secretly thought it was not good. One night passed. Chapter 23 Doubt. Liu Hao put on his clothes, took out his gun, and pointed it at Victoria's head. His movements were smooth and natural. Victoria, who was in a weak state, was completely stunned when she saw this scene. Wait, I can still? Bang. Liu Hao did not wait for her to finish her words, and pulled the trigger without hesitation, and the flying bullet hit Victoria's head. Liu Hao skillfully wrapped Victoria's body with a bedsheet, then sat on the edge of the bed and sighed. Women only slow down my speed of drawing the gun. A few minutes later, Liu Hao changed his clothes and left Victoria's home. Then, he called his boss Arthur, and a voice came from the other end of the phone. You guy, I really want to answer your call. How can you say that? After all, I am your subordinate. Liu Hao laughed. You must be calling for something bad. I'm on vacation in Hawaii now. If you have any problems, ask your superhero friend to solve them. Arthur said on the other end of the phone. Although Superman is my friend, I can't bother him for such a small matter, right? Can you use a kitchen knife to trim your nails? What a weird metaphor. Arthur was helpless. Forget it. Even if I owe you this, kid, tell me, what trouble is this time? I suspect I'm wanted. Liu Hao said. What did you say? Wanted? Hearing the key words, Arthur raised his voice. Definitely not a national wanted, but a private one, such as a killer. Liu Hao said calmly, at least, I have solved 2 killers today. After listening to Liu Hao's description, Arthur put away his joking tone and asked, so you need me to help you investigate? Who wanted you? That's right. I just don't know if you are free on vacation. Liu Hao teased. Even if I'm not free, you will force me out. Wait, I'll send someone to check and give you the answer later. Arthur hung up the phone. Liu Hao went to the police station. Not long after he sat down in the office, he received a text message from Arthur, and Liu Hao opened the text message. Content of the text message, your guess is correct. You are wanted. I have sent you the opponent's forces and wanted order. Liu Hao walked to the fax machine and took out 2 A4 papers. One was a description of an organization, and the other was a wanted order with Liu Hao's photo attached. Liu Hao read the 2 papers carefully. They actually sent me a wanted order. Liu Hao looked at the few descriptions of himself on the wanted order and the photo from 3 years ago. As for why there was so little description of him, it was naturally because Liu Hao had asked Arthur to modify his personal file so that it contained only irrelevant information. So the killers knew so little about him. It turned out that the problem was not with them, but that their organization did not provide much information at all. Liu Hao's eyes moved to the second file, which was detailed information about the forces. The first thing that caught his eyes was 4 eye-catching characters. Continental Hotel, followed by photos of the building and background descriptions. Liu Hao was not interested in this, and this information was not important to him. Continental Hotel? Liu Hao whispered the name, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. As an action movie fanatic in his previous life, he was very familiar with this, and he had savored every one of them. The name came from the Killer Guild in the movie Fast and Furious. In the movie, they were like the judges of the gods above, and the killers were omnipotent, superb skills, and left a deep impression on people. However, in this Marvel universe, they seemed insignificant. Compared with other evil forces in the Marvel world, the Continental Hotel was like a child's game and could not cause any waves. And such a Continental Hotel dared to target him, Liu Hao. Thinking of this, Liu Hao half closed his eyes and slowly said, "Since you have the courage to issue a wanted order for me, I should let you see my methods." Inside the Killer Guild of the Continental Hotel. What's going on? One of the tattooed women who were working was confused by the information on the screen. What's wrong? Another woman came over and looked at the red font on her screen. The target of the bounty, New York police detective, Liu Hao, has accepted more than 2 bounties. It's difficult to deal with, isn't that normal? Otherwise, they wouldn't have asked the Continental Hotel to offer a bounty for him. The blonde shrugged. The brown-haired woman responded, "But the 2 who took over the task are top killers who can be compared with the retired John Wick, the John known as the Dark Knight Crawler. It doesn't matter, if the bounty fails, it will be reissued, unless Boss Winston orders the bounty to be cancelled." The blonde woman said, and continued to work. The brown-haired woman did as she was told, and clicked to reissue the rejected bounty task. At the moment, in the presidential suite of the Continental Hotel, a middle-aged man in high-level pajamas received a text message. The text message said that a bounty order failed after being accepted by the killer twice, and now it has been issued for the 3rd time. The middle-aged man raised his eyebrows. After so many years, a target that requires 3 actions has appeared in the Continental Hotel. I don't know if we have provoked someone we shouldn't have, or if the new generation of killers is too weak. If John hadn't retired yet, he would definitely like such a task. After reading the message, the middle-aged man closed his phone and ignored it. Anyway, the target that cannot be completed after the 3rd bounty will be regarded as an important target. There will be a threshold for accepting tasks, so that the killers who go to execute are experienced. Just as the middle-aged man was about to take a nap on the sofa, the phone rang suddenly. He glanced at it, and the caller ID showed the number of the lobby manager. Usually he would not receive calls from the lobby manager, but he still answered the phone. "It's me, Winston." "Winston, we have a very special guest here." The man on the other end of the phone, although speaking standard English, has a distinct black accent. "A special guest?" Winston narrowed his eyes, but still answered calmly. "Isn't he a gangster? A policeman? Or a foreign gangster? If it's a gangster from the UK or Italy, I will ask someone to deal with it. If it's from other places, I will directly use force to solve it. If it's a policeman, no, none of them." The lobby manager interrupted him, but did not give an answer. Instead, he fell into silence, as if it was difficult to speak. Winston noticed something strange and asked, "What's his origin?" "He is not a gangster or a policeman. He is Superman." The lobby manager answered slowly, emphasizing the last name. "When did the gang boss have such a childish nickname?" Winston asked in confusion. "It's not a nickname, nor a gang boss, it's Superman." The lobby manager confirmed again. "He is burly, wearing a red and blue cape with a big S on his chest. This person has come to the front desk." Chapter 24. No body left. "Are you kidding?" Winston laughed and responded in a heavier tone. "Killing this American comic fan who came out of nowhere will make the hotel look too casual. Find a place where no one is and kill him and throw him into the sewer. Do you need me to teach you how to do it?" Just as Winston was about to hang up the phone, the lobby manager added, "This guy is probably not just an ordinary American comic fan, because he flew over." Winston stopped hanging up the phone. "What are you talking about?" "I saw him land from the air 10 meters away and walked over." The lobby manager paused for a moment. He said he would see the person in charge within 10 minutes. "What else?" Winston asked. "He will bloodbath the lobby, just like he did to the rude man just now, leaving him crippled." The lobby manager tried his best to stay calm. Winston was silent for a few seconds and replied, "I'll be there in 2 minutes." In the lobby, Liu Hao, wearing a red and blue Superman cape and Superman's black-rimmed glasses, looked like an ordinary passerby. He was surrounded by many killers. They put their hands in their pockets, but no one shot, just stared at him vigilantly. The reason was that 7 or 8 assassins had fallen at his feet, and without exception, they were all killed by Liu Hao's blow, and some even died from collateral damage. As well-trained assassins, they could have just shot. But another reason was that there was a rule in the mainland hotel. All assassins staying in were not allowed to kill. This was a long-standing rule to prevent disputes, unless forced to defend themselves, or the hotel owner personally lifted the ban. Although they could not attack Liu Hao was not restricted by this. He stared at the clock, slowly walked to the front desk, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. "Time is up." "Sir, don't worry, Our boss has agreed. The front desk manager in black wanted to continue, but was stopped by Liu Hao. The manager's face changed. What do you mean? You have no right to survive. Liu Hao had just finished speaking when the first gunshot suddenly rang out, and the bullet pointed directly at the back of his head. He didn't have to dodge, but he noticed the strange trajectory of the bullet, and the bullet penetrated the manager's arm on the side of his head. The shooter was stunned. He was known as the fastest shooter in this mainland hotel, but he didn't expect Liu Hao to avoid this shot. He was shocked for a short time. Liu Hao moved to his side in an instant and knocked him several meters away with one palm. Then, Liu Hao walked over and slapped him in the face, knocking him directly into the ground. The floor cracked, and he said coldly, "Don't interrupt adults in the next life." The people in the hall fled in panic, and someone fired again, hitting Liu Hao's head this time. Everyone cheered. However, this was just Liu Hao's trick. When they saw that the bullet was rebounded by Liu Hao's skin and fell flat on the ground, they suddenly realized, this guy is not afraid of bullets. Change to a better weapon. Liu Hao looked around and said, "Otherwise, you will all die in my hands." Before he finished speaking, the sonic boom sounded again. Liu Hao's figure flashed and disappeared on the spot. When he appeared again, accompanied by a strong wind, he kicked and broke the bones of 3 people. Faced with this scene, can the people in the hall bear it? The brave ones put on powerful equipment and shot at Liu Hao, while the timid assassins fled. However, it was useless. The lesson of HYDRA organization a few days ago was still fresh in his mind. Countless bullets hit Liu Hao and were either crushed or rebounded. Armor-piercing bullets could not even penetrate Liu Hao's skin, and grenades could not shake his hair. Everything shot out was like fireworks in the night sky. Bullets can't penetrate. How is it possible? The assassin was unbelievable. This guy is really a real Superman. Countless bullets were aimed at Liu Hao's vital points, but they were ineffective. Instead, the person who fired first was discovered, and the ending was horrible. Would it be okay if Liu Hao was not shot? No, Liu Hao, who wanted to escape, would not be spared. He directly broke through a wall and threw it at the door, blocking the exit with a bang, and no one could escape. "Sorry," I said. "You all have to die. No negotiation." Liu Hao was suspended in the air, overlooking everyone. This guy, he wants to kill everyone. No one could have expected that Liu Hao, wearing a Superman costume, would do such a thing. This is completely different from the righteous and glorious superhero in their impression. Blocking the door is just the beginning, and the next step is the massacre. Liu Hao lacks a sense of justice, and good and evil are all up to him. Those who can live in this hotel have blood on their hands, and they are all desperate people who have taken dozens of lives. No matter how glamorous the appearance is, they are just useless scum to the world. Liu Hao cleaned up here, which can be regarded as indirectly saving the country. Liu Hao began his massacre. The speed of flight that exceeds the speed of sound, plus the power that can easily crush a tank. Not to mention using fists to attack vital points. Even a simple physical collision will instantly turn these assassins into meat paste, and blood will flow like a river. Just as Liu Hao was suspended in the air, 6 bombs were fired continuously in an instant. Bang, bang. Wait, the place that absorbs heat seems to be in that flame. Everyone watched with their own eyes as a blue-white ice point appeared in the center of the flame, then spread out and swallowed all the flames. The flames were slowly swallowed by ice, and the ice formed a throne in midair. Liu Hao sat on the throne of ice, with his hands on his chest, and kept spitting out cold air from his mouth. Not only that, ice continued to extend, freezing all the buildings in the hall. The assassins realized that something was wrong and fled one after another. The slow ones would be frozen and turned into blue-white ice sculptures. The whole hall was shrouded in coldness, leaving only Winston and his men. This is one of Superman's special abilities, frozen breath. As the name suggests, it generates cold air through breathing, and can even reach absolute zero when in good condition. Liu Hao didn't have to use this trick, because bombs had no effect on him, even 7 consecutive shots, not even an itch. But he chose to use frozen breath for no other reason, just to show these people how big the gap between their strength and his own was. Chapter 25 Vampire. Winston sensed the gap between them. He stood on the edge of the 2nd floor and tried to make his voice sound calm. "Mr. Superman, I'm Winston. I think we need to talk." Liu Hao, the owner of the Continental Hotel, had watched the John Wick series and smiled. "I know who you are. I'm looking for you." Liu Hao's implication seemed to be saying that he originally planned to chat with you, but he waited too long, so he had to get rid of the people he didn't like first. Winston shrugged and suggested, "This friend seems to be furious. Is there anything I can do to help?" He signaled the waiter to bring 2 glasses of tequila, picked up one himself, and let the waiter put the other on the ice seat, facing Liu Hao. Liu Hao waved his hand to decline. "Forget the wine. Let's talk business. I need you to cancel a bounty. The target is Liu Hao. I hope his name will no longer appear on the bounty list, otherwise, your Continental Hotel will become history. Do you understand what I mean?" Liu Hao. Winston thought for a moment, then said, I remember. It's the target that was cancelled after 2 assassination attempts. I remember him. I was just paying attention to this interesting guy, but unfortunately, we just put him back on the bounty list. Winston drank it all in one gulp and spread his hands. Liu Hao frowned, stepped down, and the ice broke with a sound. He pushed hard, and the ice spikes pierced the people around Winston. Only Winston and Liu Hao survived. After killing a few people, Liu Hao looked at Winston and asked, You have seen my strength, and you still dare to put on such an attitude? Winston adjusted his tie and responded, We are doing business at the Continental Hotel. You are making us lose face by doing this. Liu Hao narrowed his eyes and asked with interest, So? Winston drank the whole bottle. His eyes suddenly turned blood red, and his figure disappeared in an instant. He showed incredible speed, beyond the scope of humans. To ordinary people, it was like teleportation, but in Liu Hao's eyes, it was just a 50-meter sprint at the level of an elementary school student. Liu Hao slightly turned sideways to avoid Winston, who attacked from behind. His attack was not a weapon, but a claw. Vampire? Liu Hao guessed Winston's identity. Winston was surprised that Liu Hao could actually capture his figure. The next moment, Liu Hao kicked Winston sideways and kicked him into the wall, and sound waves burst out in the air. Do you think you can challenge me just because you are a vampire? Are you qualified? Liu Hao looked down at Winston. Winston pulled his hands out of the wall, and a geometric figure similar to a magic circle appeared in his hands. Then, purple magic energy surged like thunder and blasted towards Superman Liu Hao. The magic energy rushed and hit Liu Hao violently, and the strong magic energy swallowed him whole. Success. Winston was secretly happy. He was not stupid. Although he was a member of the Blood Clan, he knew how powerful Liu Hao was after seeing him resist the bomb. He dared to fight Liu Hao because he relied on this magic card. Superman in the comics knew about magical immunity. He was betting that if Superman was the same as in the comics, he would win with magic. Now it seems that his bet. However, Liu Hao suddenly stretched out his hands in the air and compressed the human-shaped magic energy into his palm like kneading dough. Winston was already stunned. Not to mention that Liu Hao threw the ball at him like a basketball the next moment. Winston dodged quickly, and the compressed magic energy was even more powerful, directly blasting a wall. Who the hell said that magic can kill Superman? Who can tell him which comic book this monster who plays magic like basketball came from? Winston wanted to travel through time and space to tear the comic author into pieces, but it was too late, because Superman Liu Hao came to him in an instant, ready to end him. Liu Hao only pressed his head lightly with his foot, and the immortal vampire immediately felt the approach of death. You are lucky, because I need a messenger, so I won't kill you. Liu Hao moved his foot away from Winston's head. However, when Winston breathed a sigh of relief, with a click, his right arm broke directly, not fractured, but broken. Blood spilled all over the ground, and Winston wailed in pain. This is a punishment. Liu Hao squatted down and stared at Winston. I'll spare your life so you can go back and tell your bosses what I said. Is that right? Your organization is called Golf Table? If I see Liu Hao's bounty again tomorrow, I will hunt down your boss to the end, no matter if he is a vampire or a demon. After saying that, Liu Hao kicked Winston, who wanted to get up. Winston, who was extremely humiliated, did not dare to fight back, did not dare to speak, and even did not dare to move, for fear that Liu Hao would attack again. Only when Liu Hao's figure disappeared did Winston dare to look up and look around. He was the only one left in the damaged hotel. In a medieval European-style building, 8 men and women in strange clothes sat around a round table, and their eyes were all red without exception. These people were all vampires who had lived for thousands of years. Each of them controlled the black magic that could call the wind and rain. At this moment, they all showed trouble on their faces. This is the first time in thousands of years that they have all been summoned by the Queen for a meeting. The highball table controls killers and gangs around the world. Relying on killing and making money, it has established the greatest killer union in American history, the Continental Hotel. For hundreds of years, no one dared to challenge the authority of this organization. Until now, the highball table has been troubled by the existence of one person. Superman? That's just a fictional character to deceive children. When did we have to be afraid of such a small character? The silver-haired Earl sneered. Dracula, you are always so impulsive. The woman on the side retorted, with disdain in her eyes. The guy named Superman single-handedly slaughtered all the survivors in the Continental Hotel, and even Winston's arm was broken by him. Do you think he is just a slightly stronger ordinary person? Listening carefully to Winston's report, this person's strength, defense, and speed are consistent with the comics, but he has none of the weaknesses in the comics. A young man analyzed. So our understanding of this Superman is almost zero. Dracula crossed his legs arrogantly. Winston lost because he was not as skilled as others. If I were to take action, I would definitely destroy him. If the bounty is removed only for a slightly stronger character, wouldn't it destroy the prestige that the Continental Hotel has built over the years? These experienced monsters are stubborn and obstinate. They soon insisted on their own opinions and argued endlessly. Everyone has their own reasons. Enough. Amid the noise, a magnetic female voice came from the door, instantly calming the quarrel. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw a beautiful and charming enchantress with graceful curves, wearing a deep V red skirt, red high heels, and swaying steps.